Morning, everyone. I'm Shannon Federico with Environmental Level Association in the East region, and I do have some voice things going on, but we'll get there. So JR is here to help me with that too. But welcome to the Erin morning. We are really glad you're here. I don't know what the weather was like, where you came from, but we think that this is going to be one of our best professional developments that we offer. At OMLA, we educate, advocate, and celebrate. So in the fall, in October, we did a legal seminar and STRS updates, and that was our advocating for our members. And then the educators today in our celebrate, we are breakfast champions. We'll talk about that more later. A little bit of housekeeping. The restrooms are in the front of the building. If you came in that main entrance, they're right to the right. And there's food, just whatever bio breaks you need. We don't have built-in breaks, so just do what you need to do. We want this to be a moment away from your daily and just to relax and listen and learn something new and refresh your brain. Like I said, we're from the East region, which is a far-reaching region, and our East regional representatives are Tiffany Shaw, who is also our president-elect for the board. So she's on our advisory board for OMLA. J.R. Easterling is in the East region with us, and we will be bringing Jake Walge on as a board member soon in the East region. He's a current affiliate member. I do also want to shout out that the last 2 out of 3 OMLA educators of the year have been from the East region. Tiffany Shaw was 3 years ago. And then Dr. Kim Cockley was last year from, so Becky Reese is a retired teacher from Hudson Middle School who's been on the OMLA board, I think 30 years. It's this year 30th year. It'll be her 30th. Yeah, like we started back in the 90s. I started with Becky and then I left for 10 years and came back. She stayed. So she stayed through. So, but Dr. Kim Cockley from Hudson Middle School received it, and she's close by too. And then, of course, I want to give a shout out to Dr. Derek. He received the award. So hopefully this will be a break for you today. We did, am I forgetting any kind of regionals? Just sign in the QR code if you can. We sent the agenda very soon. I will say tomorrow, but somewhere in the next few days, we'll send you your certificate, or I don't know what they're called in different districts.
CEUs.
Thank you,
Yep.
CEUs. We'll send you that certificate. And just a quick 2 or 3 question. We really care what you think about our events, and JR will tell you there were like 5 people at our Mary morning last year, and our room is in a good place. So we really want to build the East region. We really want you to become involved to the level that you feel that you can. So thank you again for being here. In the last 2 years, Tiffany Shaw was our presenter on AI, and so we decided to give her a break this year because she does so much. But we'd like to start with just introductions for our region. You could say just your name, what school district you're from, what your position is, and then one thing you're looking forward to over break. Just a real quick introduction.
So I just want to take 1 minute though, and just celebrate the East region reps of Shannon and JR and soon to be Jake, because really, they are the ones who have put this on. They do so much work behind the scenes. So to celebrate them, I would just really like for us to acknowledge the work that goes into this. There's been a lot of behind the scenes meetings, just connected with the presenters. So thank you guys. Also, today marks 1 month since Shannon Federico had hip replacement surgery. So Shannon is doing great. So, I mean, for you to be here, it really is, I'm shocked actually.
Well, that's how we are on the board though. It's important we're there. And it was a hip replacement to a hip replacement. So I know it could have had a lot of things go wrong and it didn't. So I feel just fortunate to be here. And I'm really excited about what we're going to learn today because it'll be new for everybody. It'll be something you can take back to your district and make a difference with. So it's good. So thank you, Tiffany. Let's get started with introductions. Dr. Bransky, would you like to start?
Sure. Derek Bransky, Superintendent, Tusky Valley Local Schools. I was looking forward to just spending time with family and meeting the recharge.
Bransky, Tusky Valley.
I'm tech support in our middle high school building. And I also am the handler for our facility building.
What was that last thing?
Handler for our facility building.
Oh, nice. I love that. And
I did not
are
bring her. She's
you looking forward to over?
yeah, just to be able to rest my legs.
And I want to give a shout out to Heidi because Heidi, well, and Derek, they were kind of the masterminds behind bringing the whole projector situation to our conference, which actually I've been able to see some of that feedback. And like I shared it with Heidi yesterday, like we got glowing reviews on having projectors. Like they were so excited that because typically in the past, our speakers, our breakout sessions have had to bring their own projector. And it's just one little silly thing. But we had a building project, we had these left over. Heidi and Derek were like, we should let OMLA use these. So that was great. So thanks to Derek and Heidi for that.
Yeah, that was a nice touch for our members who were presenting. Thank you so much.
Andrea Clements, curriculum director, Tusky Valley. Looking forward to having kids that are off being adults now for Christmas and how loud and crazy it gets.
Sarah Shatner, K6 technology teacher at Tusky Valley, and just some type of flex. Autumn school assistant principal at Erin in Perry, and I'm looking forward to like wearing sweatpants.
I'm Stacey Dockery, the principal at Edison in Perry. I have 4 kids and they're all coming in from college, so it'll be nice to have them all under the same roof.
Christine Taylor, Vice President, Stark Education Partnership. And again, kids home from school and everyone together. Erin West, Director of Partner Engagement with Stark Education Partnership. And I, again, have stepped to reflect family and friends. Kind of Kristin Papaleo, school counselor at Oakwood Middle School, play local. And I'm looking forward to hanging out with our kids. Hang out with school kids. Hang out with
Yes, that's right. Sometimes we call them our kids, but we really sometimes have our own kids. Thank you, Kristin.
Natalie Medley, school counselor, Oakwood Middle School, play local. Lots and lots of naps.
That's awesome.
Tiffany Shaw, Tusky Valley Middle Schools, technology specialist there. I am looking forward to just hanging out with my little grandson. Oh, so yeah, this can't wait.
We all look too young to have grandchildren.
It's the best. It's the best.
Erin, retired from Benson Middle School. I taught 7th grade science. I look forward to spending time.
And Becky's really in the Northeast region. She was host, so she always comes to help us, which we are grateful for. So, Jake.
Jake Walgate, middle school principal, Beaver Local. I'm just looking forward to a couple day trips with my own kids.
Any place special that you're going, or just you're going to be?
Our biggest one we're looking forward to is the WWE holiday tour.
Middle school people do middle school things. I wasn't expecting that. Thank you for sharing. Go ahead.
Ray Rutino, middle school principal, unit local, Belmont County. Looking forward to, I guess, well, my wife is pregnant, so putting together a nursery and all those little things that we have to put off and put off. We just moved also, so getting the house ready.
Isn't it nice to have that break to do those things?
Sure. The honeydew list is ever increasing.
And the more pregnant she becomes.
Yes.
When are you due?
February, late February.
Oh, good. Well, we'll be thinking about you.
Thanks.
Great.
Nice to meet you, Ray.
Brian Botel, I'm the dean of students at Northwest Middle School in Cowboy. And I have a 2-year-old, and this is like the first Christmas that he's actually excited. So,
Oh, yeah. What's the big gift?
we got him like a Power Wheels kind of car, but one I can drive with a remote control. So I
Oh my gosh, my grandson got one of those, or my son-in-law got one for my grandson. and he used it trick or treat. It was the best thing ever.
I love it. Oh, that's, and I like the remote. They've come a long way since my kids were 2. So.
I'd rather have the remote for my 16-year-old driving.
They turn around and go, "Geez, man." Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
I'm Kristin Paumier, Junior Achievement Program Manager up there, and just looking forward to spending time with friends and family and all the good Christmas kind of treats and goodies that you eat over Christmas.
Brittney Wells, I'm our Senior Director of Programs at JA, and as I was sitting here, I didn't move our elf, and I'm like, I cannot.
And then there'll be a day when, like now I put the elf out in the tree and my youngest is 15. It's like, that's nice. Like, a few years ago, if I had moved the elf, I'd be like, oh, but now. Yeah, yes, but all of a sudden it just changes. So enjoy those moments of stress about not moving the elf. Matthew.
I'm Matthew Mays. I work here at Stark Technology Integration stuff. I have a 3-year-old and a 7-year-old, so my house is just chaos right now. Let's see, my daughter's birthday is on New Year's Day, so we are going to have a lot of fun on that day. So I'm looking forward to that the most.
Yeah.
And food, that too.
Awesome. Thank you, Matthew.
JR Strolling, Curriculum Coordinator, Data Analyst, Plain Local Schools. My son just came home from college last night and expected me to be off with him, which I told him no. When you get out of college, you'll figure out the real world. You have a little bit fewer breaks than what you get in college.
Yeah.
But funny story, the elf, our secretary in the curriculum office, forgot where she placed the elf in storage. So she actually had a ransom note that
Oh
she
my
turned
gosh.
into her kid saying that it was being held hostage by a naughty kid. So her daughter was to be good. So, and finally she went and bought one at Walmart. So
Oh my gosh.
the elf has made it so there's worse things that could happen with the elf not being moved. So
And
Yep.
like I said, I'm Shannon Federico. I am currently with State Support Team Region 7 in Mansfield. But I was a 30-year middle school teacher and then middle school assistant principal, high school assistant principal, elementary principal. And our custodian was great with the house. Like it would be up in the rafters and, and then I retired from Worcester City Schools. That's how I ended up in the East region. And as the director of communications and compliance. So then I rehired with the state sports team, but I remain on the OMLA board because I believe so much in what we do and what you all do. So I hope today, we always want you to leave more inspired to do the work that might came and just take a break and relax. So I am out of voice. JR, he promised that I could tap out. So would you like to introduce our presenters and kick us off today? Thank you, everybody, for being here.
So we are fortunate enough to have 3 great organizations represented here today to kind of give you some information. Some of it you may be familiar with, you may partner with some of these organizations. But in the educate portion of what we're pushing at OMLA this is really to tap into where you see education heading at middle levels, which is that career exploration, getting kids hooked in. And as I said to the principals when I was here for the September meeting, talking about why OMLA is so important, it is because there is not one thing that goes into evaluating a school district that isn't affected by the 4th through 9th grades. If you think about it, every mark on the state report card happens at the middle level. And that's why it's so important for us to keep pushing that threshold and getting further along. So we do have Erin West and Kristin Taylor from the Stark Educational Partnerships. They bring in a program of youth science, which really opens up and goes well beyond anything for all of us who remember the little Scantron sheet that tells you that you should probably work in a bank or work in construction or work somewhere else. The program that they have really opens the kids' eyes, but not only is it just based on how they score on that, but it also takes into consideration their interests. Then we'll have Brittney Wells and Christine Paumier talking about junior achievement and the great opportunities that many of you may already bring your kids to in March at the Hall of Fame Village, but the opportunities and exploring those careers that now they have their sight on. And then Matthew Mays is by far one of the great experts in this area of AI and where it's headed. And if you think about it, about 5-6 years ago, I was meeting, it was actually in an interview for a superintendent position. I told that board, hey, the kindergartners that were graduating that year, when they were kindergartners, the iPhone 1 had just come out. And as they graduated, it was about the iPhone 7. Technology is going at such a rapid pace. And our job, and what I always believed in education, was that the best part about our job is we have a hand in every profession out there. And AI is going to have an impact in every profession out there. So we, our teachers, our counselors, have to have the ability to know what we're doing with it and show our students how to use it. Because it's not going to replace people. It's going to replace people who don't know how to work with it. So Matthew's going to have a presentation and focus in on the AI. So I'm going to turn things over to the experts. So we'll go ahead and begin with Stark Educational Partnerships, and I'll get everything ready for your presentation and we'll go from there.
Morning, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to be here and to listen to our program. So Stark Education Partnership has been around since 1989. So we have been in the Stark County community supporting K-12 education and in some cases higher education for a very long time. And you can go into maybe the vision side of it. And the 3 years ago, Dr. John Richard, who is our president, was hired at Stark Education Partnership to lead the organization. He had been a Perry superintendent years ago. It had been the deputy superintendent for the Ohio Department of Education. So he kind of called, and this was supposed to be his retirement job, but they thought they'd quit, so it's not such a retirement job. But John met with about 100 stakeholders in and around Stark County. So these are educational leaders, business leaders, and community leaders to kind of see what is the community doing, what does the community need. And the things that were coming forward were in part out of a study that was done in 2018 that said that Stark County is getting older, smaller, and poorer. And so how are you going to address the needs in Stark County? Well, in talking with the educators, they have tremendous talent in our schools. But when they go to graduate, they have a strong tendency to leave for college and or then career. So our task was to respond to the needs of a community who wanted to grow and thrive in a way that was responsive through education. So the vision was created to build successful individuals who fulfill their career potential and grow roots in Stark County. So in my former life, I was a secondary social studies teacher too. So I always land on, it's about education first. We are going to help, and I'll talk to you about workforce and how it plays into workforce, but it is about helping kids find their hopes and dreams and what then connect that into what a career is so that they can be fulfilled as adults. That's number one. To the extent possible, the second piece of that is to show them the opportunities that exist in our community so that more of them choose to stay and Stark County. So go to the next slide, please. So what we're going to be talking about today, these two images are very representative of creating pathways to in-demand jobs through talent development. Kind of that center of that bullseye is using this view science tool that I'm going to talk to you more about, helping kids figure out what they're really good at, what are their aptitudes, what then they think they're interested in. Sometimes they have aptitudes of things they've never even heard of, right? But how do we know that? Teach them, show them things, figure out what they're truly interested in, and then how do we get opportunities? And so those opportunities will be spoken about in terms of business partners who are willing to connect with schools in a variety of different ways. So Dr. Ned Hill, and I'm not going to be very eloquent about this, but he's an economist, and he's been speaking in Stark County and in surrounding areas, talking about how is a community structure built around for success. And the centerpiece that you might not necessarily think education system, but we are workforce development. So if you kind of think of yourselves to some degree, when those kids get through 4 to 9, go to high school, and then go off into the world, what do you want for them? Do you want them to be active citizens? Do you want them to be engaged in the workforce? You know, you want them to be having living wage careers where they can support their families and be fulfilled. So we are part of that workforce piece. So like for me coming into this role, that was a transition in my mindset to think about myself and as an educator, as workforce. But I also am a history nerd, and I used to go back and like I have a bunch of those old McGuffey readers and things and stuff at home, right? And so in doing research with that, from the very beginning of the education system, there were so many times where embedded in what the kids were reading, where they went out and they worked with their parents after school or what that. So education has always had a space in that. It's just, I think, bringing that back to helping the kids to focus in again. I think we are already doing the work, but helping to do nuances for them to focus in. Go ahead, please. So the Stark Pathway initiative, again, started 3 years ago. And it's the elements you see up here. At the heart, we want to build career awareness. And we do and help with career planning. So career awareness, and what we'll talk about, Erin's going to show you pieces of the middle school version of the assessment. So I'm going to do a big picture and she'll drill down for us. Youth Science has 2 versions. There is this middle school version. It measures, I believe, 5 different aptitudes to solidify their brain and, you know, about the age of 11 or 12. And then there's an interest survey. And then what it does is all of Youth Science, the results, it's not like an IQ test. It shows them careers. So the human resources organizations use a database called ONET. ONET's like all of our careers are in ONET as a career. So that's why when you do a job posting in Northern Ohio looks like a job posting in California if you're moving. This ONET database. So the children's results overlay this ONET. So when they get a match to aptitudes, it'll show essentially what aptitude levels are needed. Think numerical, visual, spatial, vocabulary, those types of things. It'll show what the job needs, and then it'll show where the child is on each of those aptitudes. And then it overlays the careers and it tells them. Then we want every one of our school partners to engage in career planning. And this can sometimes, as a school administrator, you're like, yeah, but we are already doing graduation, right? Or we're always doing the graduation plans. It can be the same thing, but it is more informed. So all of our school partners, their graduation plan or their career plans are informed by the Youth Science. Many of them will have the kids come to scheduling with their Youth Science results in hand, and they'll say, I think I might want to be a nurse. All right, well, are we going to make sure that you take all the correct math and science so when you graduate high school, you have the baseline of what you need? The career planning is very important, and what it means for us is that they walk out of high school knowing their next steps specifically. If they're going to college, what college are you going to and what major are you going to try? It doesn't mean they won't change, but it means the likelihood of them being in a better spot is very good. If they're going to go to career tech, the kids, just so you know, we're talking middle school, but they take the full version their freshman year. And the reason for that, taking a freshman year, even though it's hard to get freshmen to focus in sometimes, is that they will know whether they want to go career tech at that time versus not having any tools to help them decide. So how do I know I want to do carpentry, or how do I know if I want to be a welder, versus how do I know if I want to do construction management or be an engineer, so I need a college shop. So, or many of our kids will go directly into the workforce, and that's fine. Some of them go into the workforce with the idea that they're going to go and have their employer pay for school because they want to go, but it's not in the cards right now to do that. So that career plan, and if they were that, then we want to help them, as many of them as we can, know what company are you going to go to, or have you gone in 2 or 5 companies so you know where to look and how to proceed. So that career plan is just a piece of the graduation plan. It's just a little bit more nuanced in an essential way. For exploration, and then we'll just kind of talk about all the rest of that together, more or less. I work with companies to offer opportunities to students. So we started out 3 years ago, we were at 0, and now we're in 12 districts, 2 privates, and we have 86 university and business partners. And that tells you this community wants to help our kids, because the business partners, they do not pay to be a part of the program, but they do have to use their time and resources to do it. So a business partner, some of them come into the schools and do lunch and learns. Perry has a wonderful middle school lunch and learn program where they come in and they talk about their careers, or they talk about other things within their company. It can be doing mock interviews if you have teachers who want to do that. It can be participating in career fairs if your school holds that. So those are the baseline things we've all been doing years and years and years. The piece that has grown the most for us is really getting into the job shadowing. Job shadowing is exceptionally beneficial. So if you're a school district and you don't have a plan for allowing your juniors and seniors to job shadow, that would be like step 1 of something that will be life-changing for them. A couple examples are, so we have these career champions in our schools. And these ladies are in each high school 1 day a week, and their whole job is just to help with career conversations, to help go over youth science results, to help if a child thinks they want to go to college and there's no one to help them talk about how to do the FAFSA or look at colleges. And so the career shadowing piece, if a student comes and they think, I want to try this, then our career champion will sit with them and they'll say, okay, we know we have this business partner. I'll get an email to Kristin who would do this. And so we will match them with the opportunity. And the local community, Altman is a fabulous partner. Ohio Gradings is a fabulous partner. There's so many to name, but the shadows, usually a student will be released, usually it's their own transportation, and then they'll go and spend part of the day. We have 2 school districts who picked up something called experience ships. And I know this is middle school, this doesn't quite apply, but you can kind of see where you go from middle school, getting them in the building to what can happen later. The experience ships are multi-visit shadows. So one district, they go to 4 different businesses. They go twice a week for 2 hours, and they do that for 4 weeks, and then they switch companies. We use every one of these experiences, we use youth science to inform. So if they're going to go shadow, then they've had youth science results, aptitude and or interest that relate to that company. So what that has done from a workforce standpoint is these young people who are seniors doing these multi-visit shadows, 2 stories. One young lady had our career champions looking at it, and it doesn't show like IQ, it shows careers, but you can see from their matches when they're really bright, right? And so the question the career champion asked was, are you going to school? No, no one in my family has ever gone to school. There's no money for school and I have no transportation. Did you take your ACT? Yes, I got a 34. So she's like, okay, we have a conversation now because that's a presidential level scholarship. So we're not worried about tuition money. Young lady is within walking distance of Mount Union. So our chance helped her with the FAFSA. So she took her to a couple of schools to try to look at Stark State and stuff too. She landed in Mount, and she's in her sophomore year with a 3.5 or above in accounting. And one of our companies heard about her and hired her on. And one of our business partners, who will remain nameless, had just an extra car. And so they helped her get a license. And so the young lady is on a free ride at Mount with a car and a job. So that's like, you know, what we all hope for, right? Another young man just recently He is a senior, not a great student. School wasn't his thing. A small group of kids were taken to Powell Industries, so on a tour their senior year, between the senior year. He's like, I think this is for me. I think this is good. Asked for help getting through the interview process, had some help doing that, got hired part-time, and we're now, we're in December, so he graduated in May. He's been working. Got invited to do a NPR radio show, and he said, my friends are working at McDonald's and I have a 401k and a career. And so on this show, so I thought that was cool. So all of this is about those stories, and you can't have too much of that happen. So that's what the program is, and that's the purpose of the program, is to get that. At the middle level, the developmental ability is really to get them thinking, to get some corporate awareness. So if you can get businesses into your building or go out or do things like exploration, just so, have a mini exercise. So your XYZ content area, do you have a little career focus, and can you have something where they're going to look at that program? So you can go ahead and move on. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Erin now.
Okay. Yeah, so I work with the Career Champs. As Kristin mentioned, there are 4 of them they each have a different school every day. So they're in one school a day. And their main work is to help assist with the U Science assessment at the beginning of the school year. They try to get that assessment done before the end of the fall. And then the next part of their responsibility is the results, helping the students understand what their results are. For the middle school, like Kristin said, there are 5 different areas that they are realizing, and those areas they are spatial, numerical, and verbal, all different areas that are going to measure their aptitude. It is what their natural given talents are. And then that assessment lasts about 50 minutes. And so our best practices usually advise that they don't give it all at once, that maybe they take the assessment over a couple of days, or some of them will do it all in one day, but then allow breaks. And mainly just because we don't want them to look at it as another test, another, exam or something. We want them, because they can only take this assessment one time, their aptitudes are never really going to change. They take it once in middle school, but then once in high school. But that's it. Once they take that assessment, those aptitudes don't change. Those are your natural born talents. And they are then able to take the interest survey, because of course their interests will change, but the aptitude. So we always try to have the Career Champs and the administrators and the teachers kind of hope that they relay that this is something that's going to benefit them, and it's more fun than another test or exam to take. Then the platform, not only does it do this, provide this amazing aptitude test, but then on the platform, the results. And that's the nice thing about it, is it captures these great results, and it has these reports that the Career Champs and the administrators and the teachers can share with the students, and they can dive into their results. I think the one-page assessment is one of my favorites to look at, because it's a snapshot. It's a report that you can pull, and you can sit one-on-one with the students and talk through those interests and those aptitudes. And it helps them realize areas in which they probably never even knew that they had strengths in. And so that it opens up that conversation with the student and the teacher, and it also helps give them a why. I know a lot of times students, why do I have to go to school? Why do I have to take math? Why do I have to take all these things? This helps them realize why, and then gives them more direction. So the platform will then help connect them with the different areas that their strengths will point them in. So, and this assessment is also, it's important to note that it stays with them forever. So even after they graduate from high school, they still have access to this assessment. So if they decide, wow, I took this career path, but now I really like to, look back and see what other areas that I was stronger at because I'm not finding joy in what I'm doing. They can pull these results back up and use this information. And a lot of the information that's in here as well is really supportive for resume building. In fact, for our student advisory, we have 3 students from each of the 12 high schools who meet once a quarter, and we pick a different location. And we dive into fun things like resume building and things like that. But we're going to be meeting tomorrow at Walsh. And a lot of the morning is going to be taking their 1-page assessment and talking through how those things that are pointed out in the assessment can help them build a resume and really give them the opportunity to have talking points when they are putting out in the interviews and things like that. So, yeah. And then this goes on and shows a little bit more about how they can deep dive. And that's another thing that's really nice about this platform. We know kids like to click on things and dive deeper in and do the searches and things like that. This platform will allow them to do that, especially if it's telling them things that they didn't even know existed, a career that they had no idea even existed. Well, what does it take to be a brokerage clerk? What does it take to be an accountant, financial, things like that? They can click on that and it will tell the student everything from what the salary is, what the education pathway is for it. And so they can do a little bit more deep dive. The other thing that I feel is really important in a piece of the youth science that we really want to work more on is the communication with parents. I think if, we all as the educators and we work with the students every day and try and help give them the why, but this is also another tool with the different reports that it will provide. This is another tool that we can use to help encourage conversation between the parent and the child. Your kid says he wants to be an astronaut, and you're like, oh my gosh, no. But then the kid brings home the assessment, and wow, he's really good at things that would aim him at that, and then you have the conversation and have those things, and it opens up the conversation at the dinner table. It opens up the conversation for the why do I have to go to school every day? Why? Well, because don't you want this career path? Don't you want that salary? Those are all things that kind of give them the why. So, and again, this is just more views of deep dive into the platform itself and the different areas. And like Kristin said, we have the partners that we have, 86 of them are built in. I know at the middle school level, it's hard to get, the students out of school and do the big field trips and things like that. While some schools are able to do those things, we just had a school last week that visited.
Fairless Middle School went to 7 or 8 different businesses. They took 3 bus loads of students, went out, and 7 different businesses hosted them. And they did lunch for them and everything. So there are more businesses that are willing to engage with middle school students. And I know we have a couple different communities here, starting small and then asking those bigger things after you've been partnering a year or 2 doing small things has been one of our keys. But yeah, it's zip code based. I know we have different zip codes here. So companies can sign up in your zip code for free. There's a link, it's called Employer Connection. So if this is something you end up doing as a school district, you can ask, send it to your local chamber of commerce, ask them to get the companies to sign up for it. The kids can see the information about it.
And the last thing that I wanted to point out is that our career champs, when they're working in the schools and they're trying to help make the best of these results and understanding with the students and putting that together is the council reports that this platform will provide. Say you have a speaker that you have coming in for a lunch and learn, and it's the State Highway Patrol, and you don't want to just bring 100 students in that aren't going to pay attention, that this isn't really interesting to them. What this can do is, in the career chance can help with that as well, is they can run a report and it will show all the students who have the aptitude for whatever the speaker might resonate with those students. So you can be more intentional with who gets invited to the lunch and learns. And then also, wow, you'd also realize we have a lot of students who are interested in this area. Maybe we should reach out to Stark Education, Kristin, Erin, and find out what partners we could bring in the specific students. So the platform is amazing. There's still a lot more that I still haven't even learned since I started in July, but as I find it's wonderful, and the career chance working alongside this school as well. I think that is great opportunity as well.
Thank you. Okay, so just like a little recap, because I always like boil it down. So if you're not already doing youth science and you have an interest in doing it, a couple of the big picture things is it's the only way you're going to know your students' actors. There are no, unless you do the ASVAB, which isn't going to overlay and give you all kinds of nice information reports, it's the only way to know your students' aptitude, because we keep looking at different things to know their aptitude and their interest grade. We all took those interest surveys. We already kind of referenced that. So you can know their aptitudes with relation to careers. They can explore those. I think, at least during COVID, I felt like a lot of kids, like there's no hopes and dreams. Like you ask people what they want to be, like, I don't know, or they like want to be something on social media or this or that, right? So helping them see themselves in a future, in a real career is really important. As Erin said, if you do it, hyping them up before you do it, having them understand how this is going to benefit them. There's videos and stuff Youth Science has, but if you decide to do this each year before the assessment, you get the kids excited about it. And then you use the results for anything you want to offer. Because businesses so appreciate that I'm not bringing to Altman's nursing, the Altman experience, they so appreciate not bringing just Miss Smith's class. I'm bringing a busload of students who have either aptitude and or interest in the careers that they're going to show them. What are the likelihood that you're going to have those aha moments for the kids with that? So that's the sort of the why for you all and why you take the time and effort to do this. So SEP, again, we have, from a middle school standpoint, we have 13 different organizations. Goodness, I don't know if we ever numbered. I think this is roughly 3,500 total students of aggregate data here. So this is one thing that we can pull. If you're pulling for your school, you can pull and see what career clusters are most popular. So say you're going to do an actual big event for the whole school. You could pull the top 3 career clusters and do your big event. Know you're hitting at least most of your kids by having those things represented. For this shows you interest data and aptitude data. So if we look at this, the aggregate for middle school, arts, entertainment, and design is huge. Education is huge. Management and entrepreneurship is huge. Anyone know why education is huge on the interest side? Who do they spend 13 years with? So the interest, this is wonderful information. It's valuable information because we have to hit their interest to get them to do something, right? Especially in the middle school. But there's a limitation there to some degree. So when you come over here and look at aptitude, digital technology, financial services, healthcare and human services, management and entrepreneurship, you'll see that that's on both, right? That's really interesting information. Supply chain and transportation. Guess what?
For Stark County, we hit all of our major sectors in our top 5 aptitude matches. That's good news for the future, right? Like that's really good information. So we pull this information, we pull it for the middle school. We usually pull it for all the high schools. The schools that partner with us, they get an annual report of just their students' aggregate data. We don't ever share just one district's information unless that district requests it. So you're always looking at 13 organizations and like community-wide data. But this information for our workforce partners, those people who are trying to plan universities who need to plan college majors for the future, they want to look at this information. Employers who need to prepare for like what the future workforce is or what kind of training they might need to do or what kind of degrees they might need to consider helping fund. So that's great. And you can go on to the next one, please. And then this is just the pathway. So here we just broke down the very top sectors. It's called career cluster. So with the middle school assessment specifically, it shows them their top career clusters first. So that's like, it's a more general, it's more developmentally appropriate, right, than drilling in first. As Erin showed you, it does drill down. They can go and they can click on something and then go to specific careers. But from an aggregate data standpoint, these are the top best fits. And so that means the U-Science results will show them careers just for their aptitude, just for their interests, or things that align. And so in Stark County, these are the top. Family and Human Services is number 1. Teaching, so that's still good news. You still need lots of teachers, right? All you administrators have to hire people. You can have some hope in that, right, for the future. So this information is just helpful for the community, but I wanted you to see it because a lot of our business partners, we're a nonprofit, and so we have to seek funding from the community. Our foundations, our business partners like to see this type of information. It's very valuable to them. Thank you. The video series, I'm not going to play a video, but this is a resource all of you have at your disposal just by going to our website. The only piece of the partnership that a business has to pay for is to be part of the video series. We have 17 companies doing career pathway videos. Each one is 4 to 5 minutes, and there's a 1 minute short. So if you have video morning announcements, that's kind of what that 1 minute short video is for. We have a young person in high school. Many Perry students have been part of this as their program, their arts program. They act as an anchor. They tour the company and they learn about 3 careers of that company. What is the job? What was the educational pathway to the job? What was the career pathway to the job? So I'm not going to play those videos today, but there's 17 up. I'm adding more all the time. Companies pay $3,000 to $4,000 to do this because they're professionally produced. So it's a very professional. You can go ahead and look. Thank you. We know that we aren't really doing the work. Schools are doing the work. We are here to help connect them, to help bring some forms of stability to the process. But the schools are doing the work. The businesses are doing the work. And we're just really grateful to be a part of that. These are our school partners and university partners. You can go on. I know I talked too much.
You're good. You're good.
These are all the different businesses that are involved in some way, shape, or form. And all I ask from our businesses is that they have 1 or 2 quality engagements with our schools in a year. So they can come in and speak, or they can go to career fairs. But about a third, look at that number, right? About a third of them are now doing things like career shadowing. So the growth of the business community willing to engage middle and high school students is growing exponentially. This information is also on our website if you have more interest. I know if you're not Stark County, but you're close, like you can always reach out and know the companies that are willing to do it. And actually, I think we've talked with some of your folks as well. So this is where we started in the fall of 22. and this is the outcome. So over 10,000 students have done youth science. And there's been 600 in-school and worksite career experiences, some of those many by students. So it's really a great thing. And I'm gonna play these 2 videos if it's okay, and then I'll be done talking.
We have many students that are not aware of the opportunities that are right here 10, 15, 20 miles up the road.
It's molding them, the CW program, setting them up for their future.
So a successful college student here at Altman College would be somebody that can communicate, problem solve, and a quick thinker.
We really enjoy those students that think they have their career figured out. They want to be welders or assemblers, or they want to be something in manufacturing. But just as much those students that aren't sure what they're going to do.
You're not necessarily going in and you'll be pigeonholed in one job or one career for your entire life. There's a lot of different directions you can go.
Stark Ed Partnership has coined that term missing middle. We want those students to identify a passion and career path.
We can bring in high school students, get them engaged, explore what's in healthcare. That's what excites us.
One of the goals that I have for working with youth science in Stark Ed Partnership is taking career exploration out of the classroom and putting it into the real world.
We want to bring them in and show them the opportunities here, show them what a modern manufacturing facility looks like.
We started working with Stark Education Partnership over the past few years. It's really kind of opened our horizons to how many local schools are in the area.
I feel that this is an incredible opportunity for students to go out and visit different industries and to see what that work environment entails and be able to interact with people in that field.
We want to make sure that the next generation of kids, that they understand what they're getting into in the workforce.
It's definitely scary at first, but I say take the risk because it's worth it.
The small things matter, always. Like doing this, doing the broadcasting with the shadowing, small. Even though it's small, it always helps.
I mean, I think anytime you can partner with the community, partner with the Stark Ed program, with the businesses in the community, that's only going to make your community stronger.
And the other one's more case focused.
I've been to Altman a couple times, which I like the respiratory therapy there.
Last year I went and I saw the Canton-Akron Airport.
I went to OGI Grading, Center for Renewed Minds.
I was able to meet so many different people thanks to the Stark Education Partnership who really helped me narrow down what I want to be after high school and where I want to go.
I had a great time. It was really cool to actually see what the engineers were doing in their day-to-day.
Going to a Malone basketball game and being around all the people there.
This experience was unlike any others, and the entire team was so kind and supportive, and it was overall an amazing experience.
My favorite experience was the Altman experience. I say it's the most interactive one. We got to see lots of surgeries and stuff. I enjoyed it.
It was inclusive for everyone, and that's what I think made it good.
Not only did the judge interact with me and he provided a lot of insights, the lawyers also were very beneficial.
I enjoyed this program because it allowed me to look further into the industry and help my peers learn more about jobs right here in Stark County.
Just to experience a real park ranger and get to talk with one and get to know what they do and their experiences. It was just really cool to interact with her and just be a part of this and have the opportunity to have a job shadowed with her.
I just think it's so amazing the experience that you're able to gain from all the different places you can shadow.
Being able to go to Columbus, which is where I'm going to go for college, but then have the opportunity to come back to Stark County to fulfill what my career is, it's just awesome.
I thought it helped a lot, show opportunities in Stark County, show what's out there that really wasn't known before.
People at Stark Education Partnership are amazing, thoughtful people that will provide you with the resources to succeed in life after high school.
And you don't need Stark Education Partnership to do this. Obviously those are help with our funders and whatnot. as an educator, thinking from like an administrative standpoint, if you want to do this in your buildings and you don't have career champions, I know that I was a teacher in Reynoldsburg City Schools, and so I was the MTSS coordinator for the district, and I had a planning period every day. So like from at least a high school standpoint, if you're like, okay, well, space capacity, it takes a lot of work to work with businesses. But if you had someone who had that designated period every day to work, to meet with students, that they could go over results with kids, that they could, you know, reach out to businesses out of shadow, that would be a place to start for, I think, most districts. And the other piece of that is the first year we started, we only had a handful of business partners. Having a couple really quality relationships where they can offer, like, for instance, a health system is a city in and of itself. We do engineering shadows at Altman. We do maintenance shadows at Altman. So if you think about OGI, you know, they're a manufacturer, but we have a young lady in accounting, we have people that are out on the floor, we have robotics. So if you can have a couple businesses, and even at the middle school level for your purposes, a couple businesses and someone who has a little bit of designated time, whether that's a teacher or a counselor who's on fire to do it, they have to want to do it. You can definitely get started with this and have great impact. Thank you so much for your time.
Go ahead.
I was just wondering if any of you have questions. I am. My question is, if I'm a parent and I want to do this with my freshmen, how can I get linked just to do the inventory or just to do this? So is that possible?
Yeah, so I got it for my son. So you can go on the website. I'm not sure about the middle school version, so I'm not gonna say that I know that absolutely for sure, but it's roughly $50 to go on, and they do have access for 10 years. So if you're a district, you're doing it, that's one thing when they go to graduate, getting their email switched so that they have the results. But yeah, I've had my older son, he's like, I want to do IT. I'm like, that's great, what does that mean? Like, what is the job? Like, what, you know, and so it was helpful for him that it was in his results looking at different specific groups. You can absolutely do that.
So again, as I kind of mentioned beforehand, the reason why we were linking careers into this topic today, all right, I kind of talked about the state report and all that. The first 6 years of kids in education, all right, the motivation is because that's where they need to be, is in school. But everyone who's been in middle school long enough knows that right around 6th, 7th, 8th grade is where you start to see the disconnect. That's where dropout rates begin. It's not at high school. It begins in the 6th, 7th, 8th grade. And it's because they don't know where they're going. And that's the motivation that we're trying to build, is to teach these kids where they want to be and how they're going to get there. And UScience, this is second year, I know, at Oakwood that you guys have been a part. And was it 3 years at the high school? Did you start at the high school and then?
I think that, yes, I think that's right. I think it was.
Jared was
Yeah, he did, right.
And I will say this, we set it up our way to do 7th grade, take the UScience, utilize junior achievement in 8th grade, really to drive then that pathway of looking at where they want to go. And then the freshmen at Glen Oak High School take the assessment. And then that leads, if you're not familiar with Glen Oak, we have 17 career tech programs just housed in Glen Oak. And then another dozen plus between North Canton, Jackson, and Lake, who's our compact for career tech. And that gives everyone a way to go, plus the IB and AP. And every one of your districts have your own setup. We've got to build that hook for these kids so that we keep them engaged, keep them motivated, and keep them driving towards those goals. So appreciate the presentation and everything with Stark Partnerships. What we're going to do, because we will be done before our time.
Are there any other questions?
Yes.
Does anybody else have thoughts? Has anybody used this before? Anybody in the room using it?
Our high school does UScience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you use science too?
Yeah, our high school does. I've talked to our career navigator about bringing it down into the middle school. just wasn't sure of what pathways are available for us, which this is great information to bring back.
Any other questions? What we're gonna do is we'll take about a 5-10 minute break here, get things switched over to get ready for the junior achievement presentation. But like I said, we will finish ahead of time, which is great because I'm sure everyone has in mind on something that's going on at the building as well, or if the building's still gonna be standing when we get back, as it always is this time. Pull up, don't. All right, so if you need to use restroom, get something to eat, by all means, take a few minutes. We'll start up here right about 9:25 with the next presentation. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started here with junior achievements. And Paumier?
Paumier.
Okay, after I said Paumier, you know, screwed up that there. So, all right, so we have Kristin and Brittney here from Junior Achievement who are gonna share our next one. And I think he gave you guys a clicker, so I'll sit here if you need it, but.
Well, good morning. Thanks for we're really excited to talk to you about junior achievement and the different programs that we offer. So we did kind of our introductions a little bit. I will tell you, I am a program manager, meaning I work with schools and Stark County ESC. Prior to that, I was a classroom teacher. So I taught in Kansas City schools for many years, and I taught 4th through 6th grade, and had the opportunity when I was teaching 5th grade to take students to something called JA Viz Hub. And students had to, until 5th graders, mind you, they had to complete a resume, we did job interviews, and then they went to Biztown and had a job for the day. So one student was like the Amazon delivery driver, and he had different things he had to deliver, different tasks through the day. I had one student that I remember was the mayor of Biztown and had different proclamations that they had to have throughout the day organized. So students had different tasks. They had to work as a team with other students on their school. And it was really powerful to see these students who, like our first presenters talked about, the purpose of school. Why am I doing this? And they saw these careers and they saw themselves in this position of, okay, I could work, I could do this job. And they kind of worked through some of those skills. And even now in this role, we need to see some of the students who are now in high school, because they took all the 5th graders to be at that point to this field trip. And these high school kids who don't really remember much, were like, I remember the job that I had in JA this time. I remember I had this job, or I remember the disagreement I had with my coworker that day. Good stuff. It's different stuff like that. And it really was something that we focus on, those interactive experiences, those things that are powerful. They stay with students. So I'll let Brittney share her kind of JA story, and then we'll jump into more of the specifics of our programs.
So mine is similar. Brittney Wells, I had JA as a kid in Phoenix, Arizona. So I'm from there. When I was in 5th grade, I think I was like one of the first cohorts to go through it back like, how many years ago was that? 25 years ago. But I went through it as a kid, and exactly what she said, we got curriculum beforehand. So I remember interviewing. I remember my hands were shaking when I was with my little volunteer that came in. We learned how to write checks and how to manage our register. And then I got a job that day, and I did, I was like a physical therapist. No one came to me. So I went out and shopped, and I did, because no one needed physical therapy. But I remember it was so real life because you had checks at the time, right? I think now this town has cards, but you had to know how to write a check in order to spend your money. And I was like, oh shoot, I'm glad I paid. I was a terrible student, did not pay attention, but I remember I was like, I need to know how to write my checks so I can get my Chick-fil-A, and then I can go shopping. And the whole day works if you know what you're doing. And so those students who are not usually engaged, they're engaged because once you get there, you're going to want to know how to play the game. And it's a blast. And so anyway, then I became a teacher, which is hilarious because, like I said, I was terrible in school. My mom dropped out at 15. My dad was incarcerated for a number of years. And so I never saw myself even going to college. But through this little experience, I was like, maybe I could do that. Maybe I could do something in that field. And I actually I started off doing physical therapy. And then I went to Arizona State, the campus changed. And then I totally switched my major, ended up becoming a teacher. And I took a group of students to Biztown. And the same exact one I went to as a kid. Fast forward, I ended up having twin boys born super early, had to move to Ohio to go closer to my husband's family, and saw a job with JA, and had every intention of going back to teaching, but I've been here now 6 years. So I'm gonna pass this out while she's starting, but this is just our program offerings guidebook, and this shows some of the programs that we have.
Just out of curiosity, did anyone ever have JA programming when they were a student, have your children, or anyone have some sort of JA programming? So we've been around for our as an organization for 100+ years. We have 3 kind of main pillars that our programs focus on. So we look at work readiness, everything from what career would be a good fit for you to those work readiness skills. So interviewing, resumes, basic kind of communication skills too. We're really known for our entrepreneurship, specifically at the high school level. We have something called JA company programs. These are high school students that run a business, and they go from the beginning of the business process where they come up with an idea for that business, there's market research, they go to different events and sell the product that they have created. It's really powerful to see this. And we have a lot of local schools that have company programs that are very well known. And then our financial literacy is something at the high school level too, but it prepares the students for their real world. And we have a lot of schools in the area that use our financial literacy curriculum. So what kind of makes us unique? We are really leaning into those genuine, engaging, real world connections. So we offer different curriculum and lessons. It can be teacher directed. We really try to have volunteers come in and lead those lessons. You know, as a classroom teacher, you know, you can talk to your blue in the face. When you have that volunteer come in, they offer that different perspective and sometimes just that connection with students. So we offer that. We've been doing this 100+ years as an organization. We have trust, credibility with our school districts and partners. A lot of our schools, we have programming, you know, elementary through high school, and we try to build those partnerships within the schools. And we understand that the skills for work are ever changing, and we are evolving and kind of looking at our programming to how can we make these kids feel confident in the job force that they're going to be entering into. So this just is our kind of, if you're a numbers person, our numbers from last year. We impacted over 30,000 students. As an organization, our office works in a 16-county area, so it's not just Stark County. We had over 788 volunteers. I think that's a number that I really want to highlight because we have people from all different kind of walks of life going into the schools and coming to our events and connecting with our students. Worked with over 148 different schools last school year and had 458 community and business partners. So just a wide reach of organizations that we collaborate with. So in terms of work readiness, I'm just gonna kind of go over different things that could apply at the middle school level. So we do offer different job shadow experiences where students can travel to a business or organization and kind of see what the job entails. We have a virtual reality headset. We have 4 headsets that we travel to schools with that are super engaging with career simulations. And what I like about these are it's jobs that maybe you typically wouldn't get to shadow. So maybe it's there's one for being a firefighter. There's one, we have a lot of medical ones. And the students walk through that and it guides them. And it's super, you know, attention spans get shorter and shorter. It feels like every year. So it's super short, but kids can get to experience it. And they kind of like that VR element to it because they have the, you know, VR headsets at home. But it has a range of careers again that they can see if they like that. I had one student who it was an esthetician job. And they were doing like facials and things. Like, I never even knew like this was a job. This is kind of interesting. So it exposes them to jobs that they might not have previously thought of. Operating room, there's I think a knee surgery they have to do.
My boys were like, can we use the headsets? I'm like, it's real expensive and they're very klutzy, but they want to get in there and grab the tools and pass them out for the operating.
We pulled it out and take kids to work there. We had all of the employees' kids playing with them. But they're very user friendly. We've done that where we've gotten to do after school programs, or if a school has some sort of career event, we bring those out there. We do have in-class curriculum as well. I'll focus on that on another slide. And then we have a program that we've created in our office that looks at soft skills, employability skills called future foundations. So we started looking at high school level, and we're like, okay, middle school students could benefit from this as well. So we look at communication. So teaching kids how to be confident in their communication skills. There's a lesson on making a good first impression. So even just how do you make a good first impression? How do you go in with a handshake? Kids don't know the skills that we don't teach them. So being able to go over there, and they're short little lessons too.
And I will say that came about from talking to schools like, hey, what do you need? What do you see? They're like, Brittney, I'd love to do some of these programs, but they don't even have some of the basic skills of making eye contact. And when we do programs, I'll go in, I put them on the slide, and I shake their hand, and they're like, and I'm like, bad. That's a bad. Give me a good handshake, and then they're like, and I'm like, wow, that's a good handshake. And all the other boys are like, competition. So I'm like, that communicates. A handshake even can communicate about yourself. How does that come across? And then I have them, do with each other. And they talk about how it kind of comes off as being insecure. I'm like, exactly. You got to have some of these basic skills down, even before stepping into a job.
And then our JA Inspire events, we host 4 of these events throughout our region. Our Stark County event is probably our biggest event. And when you think of a career exploration event, you might think of like a career fair where kids are walking around, they're giving out free pencils and pens. We make this super interactive. So we encourage our businesses to bring things that are interactive for the students. So we've had medical people come in and they'll bring a dummy and the kids have to practice intubating a patient. We had a hairstylist last year and the kids were doing different tinsels and foils on hair. We had a baker, I think, one time come in and the kids were decorating cookies. And they're like, oh my God, that's super easy. But it was the precision that they had to kind of decorate with. So it definitely is interactive. Some of our districts will bring middle school students and then they come and the high school students come as well. So I know, for example, Plain Local, they bring their students, both middle school and high school. We have Louisville that does that, a couple other schools as well. Brittney always talks about multiple touch points. We're giving them multiple touch points. When you're a middle schooler, you might have one idea of what you want to do. And by the time you get to high school, that might change. And it's a connection piece too. So students are able to connect with these local businesses. We have different soft skills stations. So there's a teamwork station. There's a handshake station. And it just is very interactive. We'll stay for about an hour and a half. And they're able to see the job opportunities that exist right here in our backyard. So it's like, these aren't jobs that are, in a different state, far away. These are things that are right here in our region. And we have a curriculum that goes along with it as well. It's very simple to implement. It looks, again, at things that career interest, planning for it. Students look at the Chamber of Commerce and kind of, here's our some businesses that exist in our area. Here's businesses that are going to be there. And they just do some kind of research. So they feel prepared for the event.
Something I was going to add is, I hit on this with schools because a lot of them were like, oh, we'll send them in 8th grade, then we're good. And I'm like, why would you not send them again? I changed my major 7 times. When I go to this event, I'm always in the medical section and I'm like, dang it, I missed my fun. All the admissions people are like, it's not too late. I'm like, no, it's too late. It's way too late. But had I gone to something like this, I'm like, dang it. Like I would have totally loved JA, but I would have gone into the medical field for sure. And the company's always changed too. So like my poor husband's company, I'm like, you guys got to get out there. There's medical device sales. So they brought in the cameras that go into people when they do surgery. And he's like explaining rotator cuffs to all the kids. And he started off in sports. He worked in professional baseball. And then we moved here and got into medical device sales. A lot of the kids, they want to go into sports, right? And I'm like, what else can you do? Because athletic training is a great career. You're not making big bucks and your schedule sucks. So medical device sales is a much better job and they've never even heard of it. And you're dealing with a lot of athletes and older people, but a lot of athletes also. So I encourage definitely middle school for sure before they start picking those classes, but also at the high school as well.
And then we have the trades there. We have usually are the local police, fire safety, SWAT team is always one that they bring all their SWAT equipment. The kids are excited to kind of see that and hear the stories. and different colleges come to and training places. So it's really just an overall, just here's what exists. Here's our opportunities. What are you interested in? So this are just some different numbers that we do an exit survey with the students, and last year we had 78% of the students who said they felt encouraged to seek employment opportunities in Ohio after graduation. I think that's pretty powerful. Keeping our best and brightest here in the area, kids are interested in staying if there's those opportunities for them. And then so we had health sciences, arts, businesses were kind of popular options as well. Our next one is a video. Are you able to click the video? I don't know if I click, if it will just click to the next slide.
JA Inspire is redefining what career exploration looks like through a combination of multi-lesson, classroom-based conversations that culminate in a one-of-a-kind career carnival-like experience.
We're learning about different jobs.
There's a lot of fun things to do, a lot of activities, and a lot of new people to meet.
This school year, 165 local companies like First Energy, Scheffler, Charles River Laboratories, Coastal Pet Products, and so many more created hands-on, interactive exhibits that impacted more than 5,000 local students.
You really trying to take your next step in life? Come here.
You have a lot of different opportunities and options of what you want to do later in life for your future.
We got all these great job opportunities that y'all can participate in. And if you see something you like, you can go chase it. We got filming, you got welding, you got archery, you got basketball, literally everything.
At these events, students actually get a taste for what it's like to live a day in the life for hundreds of career pathways.
You can get a lot of cool stuff. I stack with stuff and it's fun.
There's plenty of things to explore and do, and you can definitely change your mind here, that's for sure.
First Energy chose to sponsor because of our commitment to the community and because we love reaching young people.
We think it's very important for kids, whether they're going into college or the workforce, to really understand the opportunities that are in the community, in Stark County, in our surrounding counties.
We have people looking for internships, employment opportunities, networking opportunities, and they have all this and more, and they do it in a fun and engaging way that our students love.
It's been a fantastic experience. I love connecting with the students of all ages, but particularly the high school students, which is my age when I was participating in JA myself.
Ultimately, JA Inspire is here to help students find their passion in life and build talent pipelines for the future of our communities.
These kids are like on the spot, you know, with a talk to a camera. I'm like, I could do this.
I'll get you back here.
That just kind of gives you an idea. The kids always talk about the freebies stuff. We had a cheese company last year that had cheese in the survey. They're like, what's your favorite part? Free cheese. The free cheese is the favorite part. But they get more out of it than just the free stuff. And it's neat to see kids when they come back to it and you're like, okay, last time I talked to you, this company, I want to look maybe in the medical field for things. So we really would encourage you if it's something that you're interested in, if your school's not already attending, we can make that happen. So last thing I'm going to talk about before I pass it on to Brittney there is we have lots of different curriculum in our program guide. The one program I wanted to highlight was It's My Future. This is specifically for middle school students. It can be taught 6th to 8th grade, so it's not like it's just a certain grade level. And it really just looks at exploring interests and set goals. This activity here, students actually, once they figure out, okay, this is maybe a job I want to go for, they look at what they've already accomplished. So if you're like, I want to be a vet tech, and I've already taken care of, you know, my pet dog, or I've done this, or I want to be a teacher, and I've already tutored my friends. And then it challenges them to look as well as in the future, what are you going to do? What kind of classes might you take? It just really opens up discussions. And I have some pictures up there. That was from Portage County at Wyndham Junior High. We did this with their 7th graders, and it was all volunteer led. And just the discussions that they've got the curriculum, they got through that, the discussions and questions kids were able to ask volunteers and kind of just think of different jobs and if they hadn't thought of pay for. So this is another program we offer, and our programs are offered free of charge. So it's not something that is costing your school anything. And we just kind of coordinate it. We figure out availability and we get that on the calendar. So that was what I wanted to highlight. We have many other programs as well. Brittney, do you want me to click? Do you want to?
Yeah, for me. The thing I was going to mention is when you want to do a program, it's a simple process. You reach out to us. Kristin is super fast. If you reach out to her, she will come out and train you on the program. Some teachers are like, I'm good, just give me the curriculum. And we're like, okay, we'll check back in with you. Others, they want to sit down with you. They want to go through it. They want to know exactly what they're doing. And we make sure we train you on it. Or if you're like, you know what, I want this program, I want to volunteer. We get you a volunteer to come in. And that's something, that's like the most time consuming part is we don't want to get someone who boring. We want to make sure they're engaging. We make sure we schedule a call with them or we get to know them a little bit before we send them into the classroom. And so it's really easy to get set up because of people like Kristin who are making that happen for you. So that's just a process because a lot of the times we're like, how do I get these programs? You just simply reach out to us. So we have a lot of digital resources. These are all supplemental. They're on our website, and actually we can share these with you after today. But one of them is, we won't click on it because we can, but here, Here to Career. I always use science, and we always tell schools, like, if you are already using that, use that. Our little, I love our interest survey. Actually, mine was the same when I did science in our little thingy one. It does its purpose if you don't have something like that. Like I said, mine lined up almost exactly to it. But if you already have those results, use them to have students look into Here to Career. And this is, I think, also OMLA, where it has all the different careers that exist in companies. But we have them get in there and play around before coming to JA Inspire. Again, using Use Science, exploring, because the last thing we want is you attend Inspire, you're going through the event with your friends and you're not getting anything out of it. Come with a plan. What is it that you want to see? You like the medical field? Let's check it out. Spend some time there. And honestly, we really don't have a problem with that. I feel like when most students come, because it's so engaging, they have a blast. But I don't want you to miss out on cosmetology because you didn't see it, because you only have an hour and a half when you go through the event. We have it, it's a well-oiled machine to where you're in and you're out, and you got to come with a plan. So Here to Career does that. It helps them explore the different jobs. And like I said, another feature is, let's say you click on, always pick on this, the athletic training, right? And you're like, oh, I want to do this. And you're like, ooh, I don't know about the salary for this or what I got to spend at school. I don't know if the ROI is there. Well, you can go in and look at related careers, and you see orthopedic surgeon, and you're like, whoa, I can make $350,000 or what have you a year. Maybe that's a route I want to go instead. That fits more of my lifestyle, the type of lifestyle I want to have. So that website's great for that. JA Connect is another one to where anything financial literacy, entrepreneurship, career readiness related, there's little presentations in there. They're quick. So let's say a teacher, sometimes they'll come to me and they'll be like, do you have anything on stock market? I don't want to do a whole program. I'll give them this website and I'll say, go ahead and search stock market and you'll get quick little presentations that you don't have to create. And I know you're a teacher. Teachers love that. Like, they don't want to have to go in and do one more thing. Just as, like, you know, a topic that they want to explore. So that's JA Connect. And then this last one, actually, would you mind clicking on it? We won't do a ton with it, but this is really neat. So JA is really, I just went to a conference in Rio, and a lot of the conference was on AI. And I know we're going to be talking about that today, but one of the biggest things is JA is going to be incorporating AI into a lot of their programs, if not all of them, I think, at some point. But for this, would you put in the number 100103 00103?
You lost me.
0, one more zero.
One more zero.
3.
Three.
Here we go. Thank you. So this is a really cool tool that kids can use where they are chatting with an interview coach. And we played around with that. I was like, I want to make sure this works as good as I'm saying it is. So I got in there and I was typing it like I was a kid, like, I'm getting a job at McDonald's. Tell me more. I don't want to do that. I mean, short answers that you think, and it's like, okay, maybe you could list, things that you've done outside of school. Like, have you ever babysat or what have you? But this, again, you can get in and play around with this, but it is actually very insightful and very fun. I'm sure they could use something like this on ChatGPT or whatever, but if they're in the school setting and the school allows this is a great tool for them to use because they can ask me questions that they're not brave enough to ask their teacher, or they can play around with it. And so again, this is just a quick little tool that we have to help kids through the interview process and start exploring doing that. And then if you go to the next slide. So you heard us talk about this. There's one in Columbus, and that's actually not our office at all. But something that's really exciting is we're in the process of building a mobile biz town. We're starting to get that going. And one thing that we're going to do is here today, I'm going to ask if you're with a school to take a survey to just tell us your level of interest. But basically, this program, it's geared towards 5th and 6th grade students. And when I did it, I was in 5th grade. And like I said, this is going to be a mobile event. And what it looks like is just this past summer, I was in Arizona and I went and met with the president there. And I said, I want to see your car that you have. But it's a car and it has like a trailer attached. And every school will have like a pop-up for each little business storefront. And the kids work that storefront. And for me, I'm like, this is cool, but it's not as cool as like the actual building. But the kids have never seen the building, so they don't know. They just see their gymnasium or an ESC or a library get taken over, and they're like, oh my gosh, they have, Taco Bell here, or they have this there, and they get to work there. And it's a blast. And so that's kind of visually what it looks like. There is curriculum that goes with it. And I don't remember hardly anything from elementary other than building, I think, a pyramid with like sugar cubes. But I still, to this day, remember the J curriculum that I did however many years ago. And so it's all tied to the standards, and it is a blast. It is so much fun. So I put in snippets here, but you can see some of the math stuff they're doing, right? It's not like you have 48 pineapples and whatever. No, like it's real life stuff. You're dealing with money. You're going to have to know how to use this when you get older. Another one is talking about being a citizen, what it takes to be a good citizen. And they even vote, right? Because they vote on a mayor. And so there's a lot that goes into it, but teachers love it because it is super fun. It's super engaging. You can bring in a volunteer. I know in a lot of other states, they utilize parents coming in. It's all dependent on the district, right? If the district has a lot of parent involvement, like at Green, I'm fighting to get in my boys' classroom all the time. I'm like, I would love to go in and do this. So if you have that involvement, what a great way to get the community involved and have parents take part in it. And then for this, the pathway, it really hits on, this lays a great foundation. But another thing I was going to say is the pathway, it's hitting on entrepreneurship, it's hitting on financial literacy, and it's hitting on, obviously, those career readiness skills. But what a great thing for kids to go through this before coming to Inspire or before getting the financial literacy course. So as Kristin mentioned, we have a whole semester-long program. I think we're in 35 schools at this point. Every day I'm adding a new school because they have no curriculum for financial literacy for the mandate. And you'd be amazed. I mean, I go in and I'll kick off sometimes the class. They don't know the difference between debit and credit at a sophomore level. They have no idea how to open a bank account. They don't even fully understand what a budget is or how to use it. So you can get some of these skills beforehand. That's going to be helpful. And then our company program, again, that's a program that I think most people have no. I'm curious, has anyone gone through the company program as a kid? Do we have any alumni in here? I know some people, like, we'll meet people and they're like, oh, I built a lamp. or whatever, like they always
Wire
remember.
hangers always seem to.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, I did that like 70 years ago and I built this and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's great. And they still have it in their house and stuff. I'm like, that's awesome.
I taught it.
Oh,
I
did
taught
you?
it, yeah.
Okay, I was like, so you're familiar, what did your kids build?
I didn't build, I just did a curriculum. This is years
Okay.
ago. I can't sitting. Yeah,
Okay.
I was, kind of had to be 2001.
Yeah.
It's a long time ago. It was not as nearly as interactive now. but
Yeah.
It was still fun.
Yeah. And then I mentioned this, it hits on standards and it's also available in Spanish. So I know a lot of schools will come to us and they're like, what Spanish curriculum do you have? We actually have quite a few different programs that you can, share with them so that they can have something to work with and you're not creating everything.
And I'll stay on the curriculum piece too, because sometimes schools and teachers really don't. We have our, district curriculum, we have some on the curriculum map. This could be maybe the social studies teachers teaching one of the lessons, a reading teacher, your specialist teachers involved too. So it doesn't have to be one teacher teaching all of the curriculum. It can kind of be piecemeal to fit your schedule. Yeah,
right?
so when I taught it, I think I taught the one social studies lesson, our math teacher taught the math lesson, and it just easily integrated and it wasn't kind of as overwhelming. You have this many lessons and you have this deadline. So it was reasonable.
And then, yeah, if you're here with the school district, if you could take, this takes literally like 30 seconds to do. If you could just use the QR code and just tell us, is this something you would be interested in doing? And we're just trying to gather what schools are interested, because it's kind of, I always say it's going to be like Inspire. When we first got Inspire going, schools would be like, oh, we do our own career fair. I'm like, yeah, not like this. You don't do it like that. And then they came to it or they missed out and they're like, oh my gosh, like, can we come next year? And I'm like, yeah, they're like, dang it, we should have brought our kids last year. And I'm like, I know. I have a feeling this is going to be the same way. As soon as we open it, I think the schools are going to want to do it, but they haven't seen it before. They have no idea what it looks like or how it's going to play out. But we're trying to gather that interest now as we build this out. So I'm thinking it's probably going to be about a year to a year and a half from now. But right now, the first step is making sure there's a want from schools. And I think there is from talking to people. So.
Oh, yeah, we're volunteering. Yeah. I'll talk to Trish later. We'll be good.
These are just some stats that we'd like to share out, but 88% of J alumni in the United States report that they are satisfied with their careers compared to only 48.7% of the general population. And I think that just goes to show that when kids have our programs, we're really good at just getting them to explore all the different careers that are out there. They do not know what they don't know. And then another one, 90% of students tell us that JA prepared them for the future of employment and will help them get a better job. And talking about with AI, that's one of the things we talk about with kids. Will your job exist 5 years from now? Really start thinking about this. Do a little bit of research before you go and spend $120,000 on a degree. That's the route you're going to go. Is your job going to be around? Or if you get that degree, can it transfer into another type job? But you really got to be thinking about this because that's a lot of money to spend. And then the last one, career satisfaction, 83, or I think that's similar to that one. Agree that they have a career which is extremely fulfilling. And so I know I felt that way from going through it.
That's just different social media and stuff. But if there's any questions we can answer, anything that you're interested in that you have information on, I'm more than willing to answer questions that you would like to know.
No, but I do want to say when I went to Miami University's orientation, the director said, your child could potentially change the major 6 times over the course. And it wasn't like that when I went to school 100 years ago. I mean, you picked your career and you did it. Like, this is awesome. Both presenters have given us awesome information about just the possibilities for a kid. Like, get your degree, but is the job going to be there?
Yeah.
Like, these are great things for kids to start thinking about at our levels.
Yeah. And I think we're all so passionate about it. I'm like, dang, I wish I had that. Like, I had nothing.
Yeah.
I had no one talking to me about any of this really I had J at elementary, but I did not have it at the high school. And I'm like, I was, like I said, a terrible student. I did not think worked out, so these get degrees. I was just saying that earlier, so I'm like, it worked out.
Any other questions? And I can just attest to, no matter how big or small your district is, the Inspire Day, it is a well-oiled machine. I mean, we send 450 eighth graders through the program, and Natalie and Christina can attest. I would camp out there, about 3 teachers rode the 3 buses, and we built a shuttle service. So basically just one group of about 150, the next group came around, and we were able to get through. Our high school sent another 100, 200 kids there. And they really, from the moment they get in there to the moment you line them up and get them back to the buses, are engaged. I have to always remember to remind teachers that there's going to be about 400 pink fire hats, as you saw in the pictures, coming back with them. And, you know, that's their fascination until they leave. But it really is. I've been impressed. In fact, I actually saw one of the kids in the video there that I didn't see the whole time there. And I will say I was kind of worried that he wasn't doing anything. Apparently he was. He was in electrical engineering at that time and hooking up power lines. So I was happy to see that.
And we use them as an example all the time, because I know busing is a huge issue, and schools are like, we want to bring so many students, but we can't. I'm like, they got it down. They get that bus and they're like, oh, I didn't think of that. I'm like, yeah. So I've used them many times as an example of how to use transportation.
Yeah, it's working with your transportation director, but like I said, 450, and we use 3 buses to get that done. And it's just a constant cycle. And if you do have a question, I can talk to you about how me and Gavin, our transportation director, kind of work through that. But all right.
Thank you.
We'll just take about 5 minutes to kind of get things turned around. We did these all work together because of the fact that we hear it every day with AI and how it's evolved and, you know, where it's headed. The concern of, okay, it's going to replace this, it's going to change this. A recent study, if you've seen this report, McKinsey Global Institute released, saying that current technology, all right, and the agents and robotics of AI can make up 44% of the workforce hours in the U.S. economy, and that by 2030, if used properly, $2.9 billion can be generated in the economics of the U.S. if we know how to work with it. So that's a huge task placed on us as educators. How do we get, because in 2030, I don't know about you, but after the last STRS thing, I'm only about 3 more years and I'm out. All right. So we've got to get the next few generations really engaged in this. So Matthew Mays from the Stark ESC and Spark here goes around, he does presentations, he leads the technology department here, as well as outreach and networking through our network here at the ESC. Has presented at Plain with us. He's presented at our state conference this past year out in Sandusky, and just has an unbelievable feel for the pulse of where AI is currently. Let's turn things over to him. He's also been behind the scenes helping get everything together today, and I can't thank him enough for that effort. So definitely let me give him a round of applause. Matthew, it's all yours.
All right, see everybody. That was good enough, right? Okay, so first things first. It's not you. The room is legitimately very cold. It is a problem that we're having in the building right now. We work in the building, but technically Stark State owns and operates the building. So we're actually like wrestling the HVAC and everything away from them. So it will get fixed the next time you come and visit us. That's one of the projects over Christmas break. So we'll say that to get started here. So thank you, JR, for the intro and kind of the lead in there. I want to talk a little bit this morning about the impact of AI on the future. And I want to kind of frame your mind around Back to the Future. How many people have seen Back to the Future? It's one of my top 5 favorite movies, right? Back to the Future comes out and it's like, guess what? In 2015, this is 1985 talk. In 2015, we're going to have these like super shoes, and we're going to have, the hoverboards, and we're going to have all this cool stuff. And none of that really materialized. So we are going to play in a similar space this morning with AI.
things are changing so rapidly that like we can sort of predict what is going to be happening, as JR said, like in 2030. We can sort of predict what the landscape might look like, but for most of those predictions, they're just kind of conjectures at the moment, right? There are no guarantees in this space. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in terms of the current context too. So this morning, I want to bring in some of the tools basically of what can you do now to prepare your students for that future. So that brings in our why. I like to start here with all of my presentations. Basically, the practices that we have right now are great. The things that we're doing in our schools are great, but we have to slightly adapt and slightly shift. And I'll talk a little bit about that later too. I always hear people say like, okay, well, this new initiative is great, but I have 3 years left. So like, I'm not really going to pay a lot of attention to this. Or, you know, this is my last year. I don't really care what happens. I'm not going to that meeting. I'm not doing this thing. The fact of the matter is that we have kids in our classrooms right now, no matter where you might be at, no matter where your teachers might be at, that there is no time to wait. We all have to change and adapt. So I'm going to talk a little bit about each of these. We're going to focus primarily on those first 3 areas this morning, first 4 really, but know that I'm going to get you out of here on time. And I've loaded this slide deck with content. So I'm going to share the link with you just in a moment here, but know that this is basically for like you to take back and share with your teachers as well. So this is where we're heading this morning. And to begin, I want to talk about the future of the workforce. So let's put some things into context. I have 4 different like waves of technology, 4 different things here. And I would like to know, and if you're on the slides already, don't cheat. I would like to know how many years do you think it took to get 50 million users? So let's first talk airplanes. How long do you think it took for 50 million people to jump onto an airplane and take a trip? Anybody? 25 years? Or 26 years, 26 years?
37.
47?
37.
68 years. It took 68 years for 50 million people to board an airplane. Let's now talk the internet, right? So we're advancing forward. How long do you think it took for the internet to reach that same saturation? 3 years, 10 years, right? You kind of understand the game a little bit, right? We're going down. So internet, 7 years for 50 million users. How about the Facebook? Remember that was college-based, right? You had to have the college. When Facebook became a thing, how long did it take for 50 million users to 2 years, year and a half? We're talking 3 years. Now, last one, right? We all lived this one. We experienced this one. We're about 3 years down the line, right? So at least don't say anything over 3 years or else you'll be way off. What are we thinking here for generative AI? 50 million users.
8 months.
5 weeks. 5 weeks. So obviously we're not talking apples to apples here. Using generative AI is much different than actually like going on to an airplane, right? I get that part. But think about how universally available these tools are at the moment and how rapidly AI just absolutely exploded onto the scene. This is kind of a, I was talking about it in terms of like, it's kind of a badge of honor, right? It's kind of a status symbol for a company to say, yes, we have this tool here, yada, yada, but have you seen our AI component? Our AI tool can do this and this. And companies often feel at the moment that if they don't have that AI component, that they're not relevant or that they're not going to be able to keep up with everybody else. And the problem with that is, like, yes, we like the competition aspect of things because that's making all of the products better. So many products in the market right now that are absolute trash, that people are wasting their time on, that are not effective, that are not giving them the most bang for their buck, but they think that they're using AI well, and it's basically tricking themselves. So a part of what we're going to talk about this morning are some of my favorites, but I wanted you to at least kind of conceptualize basically the world that our students are working in. Now, in education, we are rule followers, right? We like things that make sense. We like things that are in order.
And so when AI really burst onto the scene, kind of gave us the ick. That's what the kids are saying these days. So kind of gives me the ick, right? Well, why does it give us the ick, right? We can see things, pictures being generated and shared. They call it like the uncanny valley of things. Like you look at it and it's like, wow, something is off with that, right? Or as we're reading our students' work, we see like the M dash. That's like one of the big giveaways right now, right? As if our kids are using M dashes and they don't know what they're talking about. That's one of the giveaways that we can see. And we're like, well, like, what amount of work did the student actually put into this paper, right? How much did they actually use their brain? And I'm not saying that using an AI tool is bad or that a student should fail, because there are thousands of ways that you can use the AI tools. But what I am saying is we have to build in the processes now, especially with your middle school students, as we're thinking about like adults in the real world, not even just professions, but adults in the real world who are using their brains so that we don't become automatons and like turn everything over to the robot overlords who are going to take over everything. So yes, we feel that way now, but we have to push past the like, ooh, I caught you cheating of AI usage. Okay, we have to push beyond that. So create new habits with our students, especially at this middle school level, that is going to take advantage of this tool and the benefits of this tool, rather than just the ahas, I gotchas, or can you believe so-and-so is using AI? Like, oh, I would never, right? We're way past that. So how can we harness it for good? How can we build this into our routines? I want to talk a little bit about, we talked about the uncanny valley. There is another term that's out there that's basically taking over a lot of the products that we like, and that is AI slop. Okay, AI slop is the idea that it is so incredibly easy to create content and just push it out that people are doing this all over the internet to literally like saturate products. So this is one of the things that is in some people's words, like ruining Pinterest. I'm not on Pinterest, but the AI slop of it all is like, oh, look at this fancy room, and you could decorate your room, just like this. And it's, not done by experts. It's not done with any sort of like human interaction. It's just done with a quick prompt to create the picture, to throw it up on the thing, to generate clicks and to get eyeballs and to ultimately generate revenue. And so I'm going to let John Oliver talk here just for a second. This was a clip from his show 2 months ago, and I like John Oliver, so I'm going to make you watch him now. But I want you to like think about the video that we just saw, right? It wasn't a streamlined segment, right? It wasn't one continuous scene. It were all these little bits and bite-sized videos, right? That's the capacity that most of us normal folk are at the moment, but that takes very little effort to do, right? There's so many tools that are out there. I know JR and I were talking about one of my favorites. It's called Google Whisk, right? It's an experiment that's out there at the moment that can do those exact same videos in very short bursts. So I stitch all those things together, I throw it out on the internet, and ta-da, everybody's crying over, some cats. So think about how easy it is, not just for us, but for our kids to create this content, or the people who are attempting to influence our kids can be at creating this content. I wanted to share with you a tool here. This was one that was just put out by Google. This is called Mixboard. Mixboard is, in my mind, very similar. It's like Pinterest adjacent. So this allows you to create these like mood boards using AI to generate all of the things that you're seeing. So yes, you can pull in other pictures, but I could, if I wanted to, and I'll hit get started here. I could, if I wanted to, just allow the AI tool to create everything for me. So let's say that I wanted to do like a cozy fall party. That's what this example is. I don't actually have to go out and find those images like what we would typically do in Pinterest. I can just ask the tool here where it says transform up in the top corner. I can ask it to create those things for me, and ta-da, now all of a sudden I have this Pinterest-like experience. So these tools are rapidly coming. I want you to take note of the picture on the left. This is using a skill called generative fill. I love Canva. I use Canva all the time. This is not just specific to Canva. This is available on all of the other design tools. But notice here,
there's that white square, right? That's the meme that we, very popularly see. It's the, girl with the fire in the background. And using generative fill, it can, in 2 clicks, basically say, well, what's going on outside of that white square? And the AI tools, especially in Canva, it will create 4 alternates for me in like 5 seconds. So think about how easy it is to create content and then take content or take pictures that are universal or that actually happened, and then fictitiously imagine what happened up and around it. So this is the world that our kids are now currently living in, that we are living in. But I like to think of our generation as kind of like the digital migrants, right? Like we knew what it was like in the before time, and here we are in what some people think of is a like internet apocalyptic post time, right? Like that's the space. Our kids don't know that. Our kids have had devices with them their entire lives. They've had access to the internet their entire lives. They've had access to every movie and song and everything that has ever been created for them their entire lives. So what does this future look like in terms of the workforce? Okay, so AI isn't necessarily coming and taking all of the jobs, but it is absolutely an accelerant to every industry, almost like throwing gas onto a fire. So I wanted to send you to 2 different places, and I'll share the link with you here in just a moment so that you can click around with me. This is from the U.S. Career Institute. These are the top 65 jobs that are safest from AI and robot automation. And so this is just a nice list here that kind of has everything, along with our friends from SEP and from JA. I know that you've all talked a little bit about this too. This is just a little bit of a narrow focus with AI in mind. Okay, so we can see some of those similar things, right, that are on here. And then I'm also going to send you to one of my favorite websites, just because of how silly and direct the name is. The website is Will Robots Take My Job? So this isn't necessarily just AI. This is automation. So think of it in terms of full automation. There are all kinds of charts and rankings up here at the top that you can tap into, but then it goes down into these as they are fully broken out as well. And I want you to notice that most of these professions that are like automation proof or that are AI proof, most of those are based in some sort of human interaction, right? AI is never going to be able to emote in the same way that we are, or be able to have those human interactions. So as we're looking at some of those soft skills, as we're looking at some of the things that we're teaching inside of our classrooms, we have to focus on that human element. We have to focus on the handshakes of it all. We have to focus on bringing kids back into the real world and less on their devices, less on, I'm looking at the world through, this phone that's in front of my face that lives in my pocket, that's there the moment I wake up. So these types of jobs, or these kinds of conversations rather, are really important with your middle school students as we think about their aptitudes, as we think about, what they might like to do. Being able to push our kids into these different sectors, I think, is really going to pay off. And to do so, I'm actually going to bring in an AI tool that I think can be helpful for you as a part of this conversation. So this is one of my favorite tools. This is called Teacher Server. A Teacher Server is very similar to Magic School or to School AI, if you're familiar with those tools. Essentially what we have going on here, and I'm going to try a new feature on this to see if it works. No, it doesn't come through on the screen. Essentially what we have over here on the left is all of the content that you would be familiar with within your district. So we see things like math and science and social studies and all that. And next to each of those is a little orange pill. And inside of that pill is a number, right? There are almost 1,200 different little mini tools, mini AI tools baked into Teacher Server. And each of the little pills is the number of AI mini tools for that content area. So I'm a very skeptical user of technology. Like, you really have to win me over just because I've seen so many different things.
And so when I looked at these numbers, I was like, okay, but for real, there are 160 different mini tools for social studies. Like that can't be possible. There has to be some sort of overlap. There are legitimately that number of specific AI tools for each of these different content areas. And the one that I'm going to point you to this morning is career and adult. This is such a fun section because there are AI usages or like processes, things that you could do in all of these various sectors with AI to help enhance those jobs. So as we're thinking about our CTE programs, as we're thinking about like just having our kids like grow an interest in something, this is a really fun area as classroom teachers, as you're building experiences for your students, to basically look in and see like, okay, well, these are some of the things that might be happening in this area. If I'm thinking about education and training, what about like helping my students create a differentiated instruction plan? Or if they're interested in energy, here's a renewable energy implementation guide. Like your students get the ability to actually work in these areas or getting these experiences through all of these little mini tools. So I love Teacher Server. It's totally free. There are tons of other usages, but obviously with the amount of time and our focus here this morning, that's not something we're going to take a lot of time on. But if you have not seen that tool, or if your teachers have not seen that tool, that's one that you definitely need to check out. So focus there on those mini tools to kind of project a little bit into the future to see like, well, this is how some people could be using AI within the workplace, and to give your students that kind of an experience. I wanted to shout these out just because I thought they were cool, not knowing necessarily that they were going to be shared. We get the benefit here at the ESC to bring in our community partners. So I know Kristin's been in several times to talk and share. So you see U Science there. I actually linked out to the YouTube playlist of those different jobs, the job videos here too. So in case you haven't seen those and you just wanted a quick snapshot, I wanted to send you out there. And then the second one here is Road Trip Nation. So these are, in a very similar way, these are jobs, career paths, possibilities that are spread throughout the United States. So these are, again, really well produced, just giving kids the opportunity to see what is out there and how those things might be shifting in the future. Like this one here, it says Education's Future. So this is a totally free resource, but includes tons of really engaging videos to get your kids to explore early. So I love the conversations that we had here this morning to get the ball rolling with your middle school kids so that they can then plan for their high school, classes, their coursework, so that they can then plan for future careers or college readiness. All right. The big kind of, looming thing in the background, we talked about this a moment ago. There are so many tools that are currently out there in the marketplace. There are thousands of AI tools that are out there. And the one thing that is everybody is talking about is basically like the AI bubble is going to burst. It's happening, right? We're going to see that in consolidation. It's not going to be as severe as like the .com burst, right? We saw that happen, at the turn of the century there, but it's not going to have those kinds of ramifications, financial ramifications, but it's just not sustainable. We have too many products that do basically the same thing. It's just one set of nerds who created this tool and a different set of nerds that created this tool. And they're basically all doing the same thing, right? So consolidation is coming. As you think about in our educational space specifically, I just in a very brief prompt yesterday said, hey, tell me the top 50 AI tools that educators can use. And it created this list for me. And like I said, this was, maybe took it 5 seconds to compute and to create for me. But like, if it is this universal, or if this is, if AI is this saturated in education, like think about how many tools are out there in practice, in the workplace for, our adults. There are literally thousands. So this consolidation is coming. All of the companies are jockeying for positions so that they're not being left behind. And they are doing so at a rate that is like outpacing policy. And the AI companies like it that way, right? Right now they're operating on a, like, we're going to do everything we possibly can. We are going to push the limits as far as we possibly can, knowing that the policy isn't there to prevent it, knowing that the government can't keep up. And so they are basically, using our data. They are doing all kinds of practices that are probably not on the up and up, but they know that they can get away with it. And they know that they have to be those innovators, or like, can you believe what our company is doing in order to stay relevant once that bubble bursts? So it's exactly what they're hoping for, but it's not necessarily what's best for us or for our students. So I want you to keep that in mind too, as you think about the future of AI and what that might look like impacting our classrooms. And as we're thinking about our current moment and the way that we interact with each other, I want to talk a little bit about information pollution. So we heard like the really politically charged fake news term, right? Everybody was trying to say fake news, right? Information pollution is not that. Information pollution is the idea that like there is so much information that's out there that our silly little lizard brains can't comprehend all of the stuff that is being put in front of our face. So with that in mind, it's much easier to slip in things that are not necessarily true. Great example of this. Halloween was like a month and a half ago, right? Halloween comes around, I get this video on the Instagram, and it's all these really delightful elderly people. They are having a Halloween party, and all you hear is a person saying, "And what are you, John?" And he's wearing a certain costume or whatever, and he's like, "Well, I'm Alphabet Soup," and it's adorable, and you love it, and then it moves on to the next individual who makes a funny clip, and I'm like, "This video is great." Send it out to my family. Like 2 days later, it's like, "Oh yeah, that whole thing was created with AI," right? So it's so easy as a person who I like to think that I have a pretty good eye for those things. You just see so much stuff coming at you that's much easier to start tricking people. If we are struggling with that as adults, just think about how the business ramifications, the global ramifications, let alone the things that our students are going to have to interact with. So in order to help our students, we have to push them out of their more like linear reading skills and push them into more of that critical reading, right? Into a digital space. I do a lot of work with student data privacy. I do a lot of work with like the tools that your students are using. And so many of them, and not just the ones that we're using in school, but I'm thinking elsewhere as well. We're like, I'll try to be reading the thing, and then all of a sudden, bang, 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 we just see this thing flashing in the corner that my attention is now drawn to that says that I can win $500 if I enter this thing. Or, a link that is at the top that says, click here to see the new celebrity thing that you're not going to believe what happened. And so our students are being inundated with these things, and we're not teaching them how to focus on the information that really matters. So that is a skill that they absolutely have to have going forward into the workplace and beyond. So how do we deal with this embedded information? How do we deal with these digital texts to make meaning? And really what this is about is reading laterally. So it's not just reading the information that's in front of you, but it's also like, what does everyone else have to say about whatever that topic may be? Could even be, what does everybody else have to say about that source, right? I use a tool, it's called All Sides. Basically, a thing will happen in the world, every news outlet will cover it, and then All Sides basically says, well, this is how it's being covered from like the political left, this is how it's being covered from the political right, this is how it's being covered from the center. You get to make up your own meaning, what that means. So what's great about that resource is that it really is taking into account all of the various opinions that may be out there. And so teaching our students how to read laterally, basically figure out, is this a place that is worth my time and attention and my brain space? That is an essential skill. So basically we have to have these conversations with our kids, that they have to know their mind, or else they are going to be manipulated. We are manipulated all the time, whether we know it or not. And ultimately what is driving this is dollars, right? We see companies, we see influencers now who, especially at Christmas time, are like, check out this Amazon thing. It's this Best Buy. Can you believe it does this thing? Click here to view it. And what our kids don't realize and don't understand is that when they do, that's like an affiliate link, that now that person is going to get commission kickback if I actually go and order the thing, right? There's all these hidden things that are being put in front of us that we are constantly being manipulated, sometimes for good, sometimes for financial gain, sometimes for, pretty nefarious reasons. So we have to be on the lookout for that. So basically the way that I think about it is, when in doubt, sift it out. It's a really nice acronym here, very easy to remember, would make for a really nice poster in a classroom too. So if you see something silly or something that you're not sure of online, first stop. Next, investigate that source. Where did it come from? Find better coverage of that area. And then ultimately, if you're still struggling, to trace that original context. So SIFT, being able to find the original source. All right, another tool, another resource that I want you to be mindful of, this is Project Zero. This is from Harvard Center for Digital Thriving. This is their students, their doctoral students and professors all have a hand in this. Basically equipping your students, especially at the middle school level, equipping your students with the skills that they need to be functional human beings in the year 2025, almost 2026. Okay, what types of support do our kids need? That's not just like, these are the things that are out there in the world. I'm talking like emotional support. I'm talking about like topics that we don't really talk about with our kids, but like we just hope they pick up along the way, right? This is a great place that you can come to help frame those conversations for your kids. All right, on this slide there is the link for this presentation. So if you want to jump on there with me, I'm going to start jumping into some of the tools, and I'd love for you to join me as well. It's just bit.ly/MazeFutureAI. And I'll give you a second to pop that in. I want to kind of bring us back to present day. So we've been talking about like when our kids grow up and be functional adults, but I want to bring us back here to today and the things that you can do right now within your buildings to kind of create some of those successful experiences with your kids. All right, so like I mentioned there a moment ago, we rely on our kids to just kind of figure things out a lot, right? Or like talk on the school bus or hear from an older sibling and this is how it is. God help us, they're learning on TikTok, right? I would much rather our students learn from professionals like you, adults who have their best interests, rather than some influencer who's trying to push them into something different. And that's where these guidelines can come in to help, right? So this is an example of a district-wide set of non-negotiables. This is from Canton Local here just in our backyard. And basically this is something that they put together at the start of this year. And as a district, they said, these are our non-negotiables. This is what we believe when it comes to AI. This is what we do want our students to be able to do. This is what we do not want our students to be able to do. Here's some things that we want all of our staff to know. This is not rocket science. There's nothing that is like earth-shattering in here, but I want you to notice just how like universal they can be for your entire staff. When everybody gets on the same page, that lessens the opportunities for your students to say, well, Mr. Mays lets me do it in his room. Why won't you let me do it in here, right? This doesn't make sense. The kids are going to figure out ways to pit your teachers against each other. So if the kids can all be, if your staff can be on the same page, that's a huge win. Okay, there are also plenty of resources, kind of like this poster that you see here. Just basically, these are our rules. We can't assume that the kids know the rules of the game. Even if that changes assignment to assignment, we have to talk to our kids about it. We have to tell them up front, this is what this assignment is. These are my expectations for you. Even if that's different than, the assignment that you were talking about 20 minutes ago, you have to consistently update your kids on this is what is okay and this is what is not okay. I'm very fortunate to learn from the GOAT, right? Eric Kurtz works here in the office. He's one of the best to ever do it. He has a resource that is an AI class guide. So if you follow that link, it's going to pop you out to Eric's blog. And this walks you through what I think is one of the most powerful AI tools, like policy tools, that is out there. So I scrolled about a third of the way down the page and it says copy the template. I'm going to go ahead and hit create that Google Docs link, and I'm going to make up my own version. We're not going to walk through all of the steps, but I want you to know in Eric's blog post, he has every single step. So follow 1, 2, 3 and continue down. Eric travels the entire world. He was in New Zealand this year, talking with educators, presenting with educators. And through all of those conversations, he was able to develop this guideline set for AI usage. Okay, this goes into every one of the main topics that you're expecting to see, basically saying this is how this will function in my classroom. This is why we want it to function that way. But I also want you to remember these things. Here is what is prohibited in this classroom, and it continues on. And so basically, if you read the very top of this, what Eric has done is giving you the prompt that you need to customize this item. So what I'm telling you is, yes, this just in and of itself is phenomenal, right? If you handed that over to kids, it would be great. But if you use this prompt, right, and if you copy the information from down below, you can then have, I taught middle school social studies, right? So I could have a 7th grade social studies specific version of these guidelines for my students to then see, at the start of the year, at the start of, the calendar year, even maybe the start of each new quarter, we kind of revisit these. But my students are going to see real world examples of all of these. So it changes the language. The prompt is going to change the language down below to give me actual examples for, in my case, that 7th grade social studies spot. So this is something that is definitely worth your time. What I'll tell you is, because you're all at the administrative level, what I'll say is create what you would like to see for your building. So change this up, right? This is your copy. You can do with it as you please. Create what you want to see as a building or as a district, and then allow the teachers to go in and customize those for their own classroom space. I think that is a really effective way to say, yes, we are all talking the same thing, but this is what it means when you're coming into my classroom. And so getting everybody onto the same page is really, really important. There are lots of tools and strategies that are out there. I would like to show you a few of my favorites. First off, we have to teach the kids less about specific products and more about the skills that they're going to need to use those products. I mentioned a few minutes ago, consolidation is coming. There are so many little shortcut tools. So I'm thinking Magic School, I'm thinking School AI, things that I can just click buttons, I can choose from a drop down into that I'm using AI. But what is really happening behind the scenes are these really sophisticated prompts, right? So being able to teach our kids the prompt skills, I think is paramount. That's something that every single student should be learning. And to do so, I'm going to click on the resource here at the bottom. It says 100 ways to use Gemini for education. And that brings up this slide deck. This was created by the developers of Google's AI product. It's called Gemini. And this walks you through not only how to use the tool, but also individual prompts for your daily usage. So I'm going to bring this up in slideshow so it makes it a little bit bigger for us. Basically, these are all built, ready to go prompts for you for a whole number of different things. So these are I would say teacher focused, but easily adaptable out. So let's say that your teachers wanted to do a course syllabus, right? You could start with a prompt that is, underneath this space here, but they've taken it one step further. So if you click on this underlying prompt, it's going to take you to Gemini where that prompt is already baked in, where now Gemini is already running, where now I can see what this thing is actually up to. So they have really gone to great lengths to make this really simple and really easy. And I got a 404 error, so I'll just jump back here to show you this. The one thing that I want you to take from this, if you don't check out any other tab, is slide 14. Slide 14 has, in my mind, one of the most easily communicated prompts for your students, especially at that middle school level. In order to have a great prompt, you have to have the right parts, right? PARTS. So the persona, the act, the recipient, the theme, and the structure. Do you have to include all of those things? No, but if you include all of those things, you're gonna have a really rocking prompt. Again, this is slide 14 in that resource that I just shared out with you. This encompasses everything that you should have for good prompt writing. This is not a skill that like I am really well versed in. It's not one that you are probably necessarily well versed in. As a society, we are figuring this out, but this is an essential skill to be a human going forward. Your ability to prompt an AI tool to do the thing that you want. This is, and the teachers that I talk to basically say, like, I tried using an AI tool and it just didn't work for me. 99% of the time, it's because they had a bad prompt, right? So good prompt in, good content back out. So PARTS, make sure that you're considering the persona. So like, what brain space do you want the AI tool to assume? What is the act? What's the thing that it's actually doing? And then take into account the recipient. So who is going to get this thing that it is creating? Think about the theme, think about the structure. So like if you want bullets, tell it you want bullets. If you want 5 bullets, tell it you want 5 bullets, right? So make sure that you're really being intentional. And I always talk about it in terms of like the box. So build the box so that the AI can't escape and do really wonky things. So think about how you can put the AI tool into that box to give you exactly what you're looking for. Other things that I think are fun that I think you should know about. Google has been pushing their what they call gems, right? Those are like little mini protocols, kind of like what we saw in Teacher Server there a few minutes ago. They've been putting these gems directly into Google Classroom. So if your district is a Google district, and if you are using Google Classroom, then you can get really great success with the Gemini tools that are directly baked in. So this is what my classroom looks like. All I have to do is hit Gemini over here on the left, and I see a very similar experience to what I would expect to see in something like Magic School and something like Teacher Server. These are directly linked to not only to Gemini, but also to your teacher's classrooms. So they create something here, they can then click 2 buttons to push that out directly to their classes within Google Classroom. Is really a nice efficiency tool. So I really like the way that they're doing this. Behind the scenes, I've been on a few calls lately with them, basically saying more of this is coming. So if you are looking at like different ways to integrate, I would put your time and effort into here, because when that bubble bursts, Google is still going to be there. Gemini is going to be one of those tools that is going to survive, because God knows Google has more money than God. So, so they will still be around. I want you to know about Storybook Gem. So this is a really fun way to take content and add some pictures, add some images. I gave you a link down here so that you can check this out for yourself. Basically, when you go into Gemini, that's what we're looking at right now. You see this box here. This says Storybook. When I select it, it's basically asking me like, okay, well, what kind of story do you want to create? Along with that content, it's going to create the images for you. Google Gemini has a product that they call Nano Banana. It was the like testing words that they used, and they were like, we'll rename it later, and then they just never renamed it. So it's called Nano Banana. It allows you to create these storybooks that are like fully readable here on the page. that are like, it will read it to you, but it will also take into account some other things. And so I'm running down here to find one of my favorites. This is called Tom and Stomper's Great Adventure. So my friend here at the ESC, Tom Nunziato, I basically said, hey, this is Tom, and Tom loves soccer, and Tom loves Sasquatch. And so make a story where Tom finds Sasquatch, and then the two go on adventures together. And so it took Tom's picture, and it created a Sasquatch character to where now he is, making his way through the woods. And it created the content over here for the actual story. I could have given it that, right? Or after the fact, I can say, hey, on page 4, I'd really rather you talk about this, or I'd really rather you say this kind of a thing. And it'll make those modifications for you as well. But it is just a really fun way to engage your kids on a whole number of topics, right? This is fully limitless. You can have it, create a story about anything you want. I want you to know, we were talking about AI tools and how they're kind of learning and growing and expanding. This is the perfect example of image creation. As we look at Sasquatch, I don't know about you. I've never seen Sasquatch in the real world. You may have had better success. In my mind's eye, Sasquatch has 2 arms. In this picture, he's got 3, right? So if I wanted to, and I use this for example, so I'm never going to change it because I love it. But if I wanted to, in the tool, I could say, hey, on page 7, I want you to change the image of Sasquatch to make it so he only has 2 arms instead of 3. It'll make those changes into that. Here we go. So like I said, you get the ability to listen to it actually in here. We all love being read to. I'm 40 and I love being read to still. So even with your middle school students, this is a really fun opportunity to create those experiences with your kids.
Can you choose the reading level?
Yeah, you can have it adjust. You just have to ask it that in the prompt. So say this is specific to this type of student and make those modifications. You can even say include these vocabulary words and it will do that. Basically, if you can think it and communicate it, then you can make that possible. Notebook LM allows you to be the nerd behind the scenes. So you get to feed the content to Gemini, and then it is capable of doing all kinds of really crazy things. For time's sake, I won't click over, but you can have it create entire presentations now, which has kind of been the white whale so far of basically like in the past, AI tools have been able to create the content, but not the slides. And that is now no longer a thing. So for free, using Notebook LM, I can say, create a presentation on, we just did a book study and my chapter came up and I was like, I hate book studies. I don't really want to do this. I knew I had to do slides. And so I went into the tool, I gave it the important stuff that I wanted out of the chapter. And then it actually created the Google slide deck for me out of there. So really fun use cases. You also get podcasts that can be created out of this. Those are very easily shared out with parents, with families, really great opportunity. All right, Magic School we talked about, I'm not gonna hammer that one. DIFIT as in differentiation is a really wonderful tool as well to bring in, but again, because of time, we won't really dip in. If you haven't seen DIFIT, it is really worth your time. So it's able to level the items that the AI tool is creating for it. So one of the things that I hear more often than not is basically like, how do I change my classroom, or what do I have to do? The next section is its entire presentation all on its own. It's one that I did at the OMLA conference, but I wanted to include those slides here for you to explore later. This basically hits on 5 key classroom management strategies, and then ultimately what that looks like in the context of the AI world. So as you are working with your teachers to basically say, we always appreciate and need these clear expectations and consistent procedures. This is what it looks like now in terms of the AI of it all. So we're not going to go into all of these. I'm going to click through these really fast. Just know that those slides are in there for you if you would like to revisit them or share them out with your classroom teachers. Okay, so we know that our students are using AI. We just have to teach them how to use AI well. And that's a skill, like I said, I am learning that myself. That's something that, just as a society, something that we all have to help combat. I wanted to make mention of this slide here as well. The other knee-jerk thing I either get, especially several years ago, was like, we need to block this thing. And then if we can't block it, how can I tell if my kids are using it, or how can I tell if my kids are cheating? So this is a little bit, this is how I would go about it if I were you. Basically, everything goes into Google Docs, and then I would utilize that version history. I would much rather have that as my evidence compared to AI detectors, which we know are unreliable, which we know are producing scores or saying that people are using AI when they're really not. It's disproportionately affecting our minority students. It's disproportionately affecting our English learners as well, who tend to write in more pattern format. So I don't use AI detectors. That is just me. They are all like easily tricked. So I would much rather go to the Google Docs of it all and look through that version history. So all of this is to say, basically, what does this look like going forward? We do not have time to wait. We have to think about the skills and the things that we talked about this morning to help build these practices into our students' work, especially at your middle school level. I personally think like late elementary is when I would start, just kind of talking about prompting, and like the kids are hearing it. So I at least want to start to steer that conversation. Middle school is when I would expect kids to start like tinkering with some of these tools. And by the time they're in high school, I would expect them to be pretty good at using it. So we have to start building that in now. Update those expectations, basically the routines, the responsibilities, the things that you're looking for, and then work together. AI is all about efficiency and giving you more time to do other things. So use those together with your content teams, with grade bands of teachers to help shape those future citizens that we're looking for, who maintain their curiosity and who maintain that human element, to be more than just, like I said, those automatons looking at a screen. So our modern classrooms are going to lead to our future professionals. So if the expectation or if the function of school is to prepare kids for the real world, then we have to build these practices into our current classroom. So focus on things that we've always valued, like clarity and relationships, environment, engagement, consistency, and know that we have to have conversations with our kids, basically saying AI isn't a shortcut. That it's not a thing that like we're just going to turn our brains over and let it do its thing. You really have to be active participants in that too. So my contact information is here. We went through a whole heck of a lot in a very short amount of time. I'm happy to answer any questions. I know we were supposed to end at 11, but it's the building that I work in, so we can stay here for as long as you want. Are there any questions, or did this spark anything that anybody would like to ask?
I mean, I thought that was probably the best presentation on how to use the classroom I've ever seen.
Thank you.
My husband's a professor. I've done some adjuncting, and I sit on a university board, and so I know that the concept of research and kids coming into college knowing how to do research versus using, the audit, this is AI or doesn't sound like, we all know reading paper, whether it's the child or not. So I guess I don't exactly know what I'm asking, but how do we teach them authentic research skills, authentic sourcing from real documents? I mean, as well as this, how are we going to teach them to write the paper, to go look at the primary, your social studies teacher, go look at the primary sources, but then utilize these resources to take kind of an average product and create it into something special? I guess that's a good
Great question. Yeah, great question. So I think the AI tools can support that. I know there's a percentage or ratio that was thrown out that a lot of people subscribe to that I do not. That was 80-20. I'm going to have AI do 80% of the work, and then I'm going to do 20. I hate that, right? I would much rather dial that back down to more of a 50-50. So let's say that instead of going to, I'm going to use Wikipedia. Instead of going to Wikipedia, maybe I use the tool to say hey, I'm doing a paper on the Declaration of Independence. and I want 10 primary sources to, help me discuss this thing. I can put in a prompt that basically builds that list for me. I can say, provide a link where I can go to view this, and it'll do that. I can say, we use this, I use this a lot in our office where like we see all these, like just legislation come through from the state, and 99% of it is like purposefully like mumbo jumbo that's just difficult to read and synthesize. And then there's that like one little nugget that if you miss it, all of a sudden you're breaking the law. And so give it those primary sources, give it those kinds of things, those like massive PDFs, give it to them and say, synthesize this down into the 5 most important points. One of the things that I like to start with is to basically say, I'm going to give it my rough draft or that thing, and then allow it to polish it up a little bit and say, this sentence sounds terrible. Make it sound better, make it sound more professional. So I think there are opportunities for that, but in our space in K-12, I'm going to use for a moment, like this really comes down to getting to know your kids. And so do I know what they are capable of doing? Do I know the way that they speak in the real world? And is that reflective of the thing that they're, putting in as their own work? I feel like we have to get past the like, ooh, I caught you red-handed cheatings. And like, this is how this is going to be going forward. I just watched a video, PBS put it out, where they were talking to Ohio State kids. And I knew I was going to be short on time, so I didn't put it in here. But they were talking to some Ohio State students at the Fisher College of Business. And basically, the professor's like, this is where we're at. This is how we're using it. And this is, our students understand this. At the college level, it's much more difficult because you may only see those kids for an hour a week. You may only see them in a digital space where like I do stuff at Walsh. And like, I don't know these people. I just know them as a face on a screen, and I trust that they're, sharing these things out. I don't ever actually see them in real life, but, giving them, giving them opportunities. Like I said, bring them back into the real world. So have them write with a pencil and a paper and see what they're capable of and what kind of words they're using. Bring that back up, bi-weekly, just do something really silly just to see like, are they capable of forming sentences? Are they using M dashes in their normal wording? So now when I see it on the computer, like that is like, these are all pieces of evidence that I can then use in conversation with my kids to say, I know this is the thing that you turned in. This doesn't sound like you. And I know it doesn't sound like you because this, and this. And I have that Google version history to see that you added this giant chunk of information at this moment in time. I know these probably aren't your words. Why aren't they your words? Like, come along with me as a thought partner rather than I put this thing into this AI detector tool that said that, 75% of this was generated and therefore you failed. Let's move on, right? We have to like bring them along as partners rather than gotchas. So it's a really long-winded way of saying, I don't know, but we're doing our best.
At a conference I went to was talking about how kids must know the skills before they use AI to do it. So if you cannot, in 4th grade, write a complete sentence, you're not asking it to write you a paragraph. You have to know the basics first before you're allowed to move on to have it publish something for you or something like that. And I also talked about AI bias on how, whatever's on the internet, it's going to pull. I gave this example recently, like if there's always a blue kite, it will always go back to a blue kite because that is what it knows. So this was great. I'm like,
and this was the cliff notes version.
Yeah. So the last few things I just want to cover, and then I appreciate everyone's time. I hope you walk away with some information, and more importantly, as we prepare for next year and our Merry Morning that we asked, obviously at the beginning, if there was ideas you had. Well, the biggest thing we do need is we need to fill the room. Okay, the thing about the East region is we're starting to kind of from scratch in the last few years to kind of rebuild our membership. All right, whether it be buildings, whether it be individuals, but as we build that, the network we can connect to and the things we can do within this region, not just at state conference, not just in these Merry Mornings, but we can do so much. Some districts, especially in our southern counties of the East region, Noble, Muskingum, all right? They're the one individual in that subject, in that building for that district. When I taught in Manchester, I was the expert in sixth grade math because I was the only person in sixth grade math, all right? But we have to build networks that we can support each other. The last element of what we do is celebrating our kids. And so in March, we are going to be having our Breakfast of Champions. This will be the first year we are going to host this at the Gold Jacket Room in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. All right, we want to fill that venue. The Hall of Fame is willing to partner with us to help us put on a great event for these kids. So if you are a member, it's okay if you're not a member, you can join. Again, membership's $30 for an individual. For a building, $200. All right, if you look around professional organizations, you're not getting a better deal for a network that you can get things out of, not just celebrating your kids, recognizing your staff, recognizing teams, parents, students at our conference, the many grants. All right. At Oakwood, we started an entire drone program off of an OMLA mini grant after I saw it at conference and brought it back to my building. So there's a lot we can do. All right, but we do need your help. So the Breakfast of Champions is on Thursday, March 12th. Okay, you guys are the first ones that are going to have a chance to have the link that is the nomination. Okay, every member can nominate 2 students. We hope we hit that limit for our space capacity for the Gold Jacket Room. And then, you know, while we wouldn't be able to recognize everyone, we want to make sure we bring in 20 students from around our region to be able to recognize them this day. The recipients not only will have the recognition, but they'll also have free admission to the hall afterwards. And their parents that are there with them can also get a discounted rate. So it's an opportunity to recognize them, but also kind of reward them with an event right before spring break there. So that QR code will get you to it. Nominations are due by Thursday the 12th. And then we'll notify everyone of who will be recognized. The top 20 we're recognizing that day in March. So you can then make plans. So everyone said that. And then the last thing we have one more event between now and then, and it's our affiliate meeting on February 12th. This is a virtual meeting, and you can see the Google Meet link down there. So if you have any way that you want to help give back to OMLA, maybe it's just with ideas, maybe it's with an impact, and you've got an idea of how we can get into your region. We've had most of our events up here in Stark ESC, and we are grateful for them always partnering with us and hosting us. But we know we've got to get further south. We know we've got to get into the Dover and Philly area. We know we've got to get down to Noble County. So the more people we have in those areas, the stronger that network is. And we're willing, as we go into the 26-27 school year, pushing out into those ESCs. We have 8 different ESCs that make up our region. So that link is there for February 12th at 7 o'clock. Jump on for a few minutes with us, talk with us, ideas you have as we go into planning. We like to expand our network. Jake, who is an affiliate now, is going to be hopefully coming on board here shortly as a board member, but we need to expand that affiliate network as well so that we can only keep building things we present.
And we need our affiliates to help us with the events. So that's the reason that you're going to want to get on to. If you're able to help out, get more involved.
So we will be sending out an email. Shannon will send it out in the next day or two. There will be an exit ticket in there. And if you go in and take a few minutes, some of that will be ideas you have for maybe future programming. Maybe you'd like to help, or you know others that would like to help, and you can help us get connected with them. All right. Again, we like in it, anything with education, we're strong by our numbers. All right. And as I keep repeating this because it's what's preached and playing through our superintendent down, public education and education in general needs to advocate for itself now more than ever. 2 things are going to happen. Either we tell our story or someone else tells our story. And as a former history teacher, I can tell you right now, an autobiography was always a lot more reliable than a biography because you're taking the person who lived its persona. So thank you for joining us. Appreciate your time.